Afternoon, in fact, police are hunting for SUV used by the shooters. Dozens of Islamic Jihad militants displayed life-size replicas of their rockets during a parade in the Gaza Strip of Palestine. Well, with that, we wrap up this bulletin. It's time for India Up Front with our editor-in-chief, Rahul Shivshankar. Over to you.
Thanks indeed, Meghna. Yes, of course, as always, viewers, the biggest story of the day on India Up Front. Viewers, hate is hate. It is colorblind. It is caste blind. It is class blind. It is creed blind. In short, it doesn't discriminate. Since hate doesn't discriminate, it is natural to assume that laws promulgated to punish hate would also be applied without discrimination, without fear or favor. But this is not always the case. In Hyderabad these days, it appears that the law is being applied after first checking the affiliation of the transgressor. If this is not the case, then can someone from Telangana administration explain why only BJP's T. Raja Singh has been arrested, then re-arrested, or within 72 hours, and not anyone from among the Sartan Se Juda brigade? Can someone please explain how T. Raja's crimes are any worse than those being committed by hundreds and hundreds of fanatics who want viewers to behead T. Raja and his supporters? In fact, when last evening 90 Sartan Se Juda fanatics were finally detained, because Times now asked that question repeatedly of the TRS administration, Asaduddin Owaisi, the leader of the AIMIM, directly intervened to free them. And he succeeded. Listen to this.
घर का दरवाजा तोड़ के हम हमको मार लेके
मतीन भी है ना उसमें?
जी हाँ, मतीन भी है।
इरफान रियाज भी है ना?
जी हाँ। एहतेशाम में चले जी।
और भाई बहुत बुरा हुआ, वो मालूम होते कि मेरे को, मैं मुजफ्फर को बोला
जी हाँ, आके मुजफ्फर कॉर्पोरेटर साहब और समस्त कॉर्पोरेटर साहब आके हम लोग रिहा करे, और आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह।
अब जाओ 1:30 बजे, सुबह 1:30 बजे अब जाओ, घर में परेशान होंगे
जी।
इंशाल्लाह मुजफ्फर समझ लिया कि आप घर पे छोड़ देंगे
जी। अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया साहब।
आराम से रहो, परेशान रखो, इंशाल्लाह। मालूम होते कि हम हरकत में आए, मगर ये नहीं होना था वो जी साहब। आप जाइए, घर को जाइए, आराम करिए
जी। अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह साहब।
घर वाले परेशान होंगे आपके
जी।
ओके,
शुक्रिया साहब, जज़ाकल्लाह।
On Owaisi's intervention, the Telangana police immediately released these hate mongers who want to administer extrajudicial punishments like beheadings, sanctioned allegedly by Islamic law, upon Raja and those who support him. It's not as if, viewers, these threats have not played out. In Rajasthan they've played out. In pockets of Maharashtra and Karnataka they've played out. Such invitations to violence are, of course, illegal under India's secular law, as they are an incitement to violence. Listen to the Islamist hate mongers who confirm that the Telangana administration released them after intervention from their big boss.
साथी कॉर्पोरेटर मुजफ्फर साहब को हिदायत दी कि फौरी जो है यहाँ पर कंचनबाग पुलिस स्टेशन पहुँचे और इन महरूस बेकसूर बच्चों को जो है रिहा करवाने के लिए। तो आकर यहाँ पर जो है एडिशनल डीसीपी आनंद साहब से जो है हमने नुमाइंदगी की और इनको जो है अभी रिहा किया, और हमें नकीब मिल्लत ने जो है ना इस बात की हिदायत दी मुझको और मुजफ्फर साहब कॉर्पोरेटर को कि फौरी तौर पर जो है इन बच्चों को रिहा कराते हुए अपने साथ अपनी गाड़ी में बिठाकर इनके मकानात पर ले जाकर छोड़ने के लिए।
Now here's the hypocrisy. This very same person, Asaduddin Owaisi, who today secured the release of 90 men who went on a rampage in Hyderabad, had on Times Now's camera sang a very different tune. He declared that Sartan Se Juda chants are radical and illegal and vowed to punish those who raised them. Listen in for yourself, viewers.
हाथ काटना, सर काटना, ये रेडिकलाइज एलिमेंट्स है ये कानून को अपने हाथ में लेना चाहते हैं। अमन के दुश्मन है ये लोग, इसका मैं कंडेम करता हूं।
घर का दरवाजा तोड़ के हम हमको मार लेके
मतीन भी है ना उसमें?
जी हाँ, मतीन भी है।
इरफान रियाज भी है ना?
जी हाँ, एहतेशाम
में चलिए
जी।
और भाई बहुत बुरा हुआ, वो मालूम होते कि मेरे को, मैं मुजफ्फर को बोला
जी हाँ, जो आके मुजफ्फर कॉपरेटर साहब और समस्त कॉपरेटर साहब आके हम लोग रिहा करे, और आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह।
अब जाओ 1:30 बजे, सुबह 1:30 बजे अब जाओ घर में, परेशान होंगे
जी।
इंशाल्लाह मुजफ्फर समझ लिया कि आपको घर पे छोड़ देंगे।
जी अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया साहब।
आराम से रहो, परेशान न हो इंशाल्लाह। मालूम होते कि हम हरकत में आए, मगर ये नहीं होना था वो।
जी साहब,
आप जाइए, घर को जाइए, आराम करिए।
जी अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह साहब।
हाँ, घर वाले परेशान होंगे आपके जाइए।
जी
ओके,
शुक्रिया साहब, जज़ाकल्लाह।
शुक्रिया।
Here's this palpable double standard not just demonstrated by Owaisi but also the state administration raises some big questions. Are Islamists above the law? Are the laws only on the books to punish Hindu hotheads? Are Hindus soft targets because they aren't a unified vote bank that can show up and intimidate in large numbers? These are some fundamental questions, viewers. We can't run away from these questions. Let's go and ask them. I want to go straight across tonight to Ishkaran Bhandari and Danish Qureshi and also Khaliqur Rahman, leader of the TRS. Ishkaran Bhandari, what do you make prima facie of what we have just witnessed and seen? Ishkaran.
Rahul, firstly, I want to start by congratulating you because you are going these debates where people are coming and exposing themselves by their own words. People exposing themselves by supporting Sartanse. People exposing themselves by saying they support the fatwa on Salman Rushdie. There can be two views, whether such people should be given platform or they should be blanked out. But the reality is in social media age, they cannot be blanked out. So I, for one, am very happy that you are letting these people speak so that the entire nation watches what is the mindset by which we have to deal, because we have to deal it within a very large and very decisive manner from Rajasthan to Maharashtra to this state. The mindset appears to be the same, the call appears to be the same, and the action thankfully hasn't happened in Telangana, but it has happened in other states. So let us be very clear, we need to have a decisive mindset to deal with this. Secondly, when you see 90 people baying for blood, saying Sartanse and coming out the next 2 days or 5 days, that shows that the law and order is failing in the state. That shows they are not being booked under appropriate laws, or that shows we do not have appropriate laws where blood cries to murder people are not charged under terror offences. What can be bigger act of terrorism than to behead a person for any speech? This is a pure act of terror. Until the time we define all such calls, all such asks, all such rewards as a terror act, anybody promising a reward be booked under financing of terror, even though they don't give this reward, it is just to incite the gullible. But anybody offering the reward be booked under financing of terror, only then will we reach somewhere near a solution where people will understand in a democracy you cannot have mobs because they are a vote bank. It reminds me of Muzaffarnagar, where a famous minister used to see the religion and then give people bail. And what happened? It led to a worsening of law and order. Let us not reach that stage. Let us book all these people under terror laws, including the financiers, because I keep saying that they are very important. Only then will we reach some semblance of a solution in independent India.
Well, let me bring in Khaliqur Rahman, leader of the TRS. Sir, in my hand is the press note that has been issued by, first of all, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening to you too.
Good evening. So, I want you, I don't know if you have seen this, but this is the press note that has been released by the police.
Yeah, I've seen
stating
that, I've read that.
Yeah, PD Act has been invoked against T. Raja Singh Lodh at Raju Singh, alias Raju Singh, alias Raja Singh, son of T. Naval Singh, MLA, Ghosh Mahal.
You can go further, I've already read that.
And Rowdy Sheeter of Mangal Ghat Police Station, West Zone. Now, sir, I want to draw your attention to how this entire press release seems to suggest that the Sartan Se Juda slogans are a legitimate reaction to the words which are highly condemnable. I am not going to in any way justify those words. Highly condemnable words of T. Raja Singh. So you're saying today in this press conference, press release, that these Sartan Se Juda slogans are okay because people get provoked and people can do what they want to. Sir, I think this is a very false equivalence that your state administration is drawing, specifically the Telangana police. It betrays that for some reason you don't intend to crack down on these people because you see them as victims and not provokers and inciters. This is very worrying.
Rahul, are you done?
Yeah,
Are you finished? Okay, Rahul, good evening to all my co-panelists and good evening to all the viewers of Times Now. I think you have raised a very good question, Rahul, and for which you'll have to give me time without interrupting me. Then only I'll be able to answer. Or if you or any of the co-panelists are going to come in and intervene, then I think I'll not be able to put across my point and give you the complete answer what you want to hear from me or what you don't want to hear from me. Okay? Yeah, Rahul.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can. Please go ahead.
So first of all, let me tell you, let me start with Mr. Raja Singh. Raja Singh, as we all know, is a habitual and a notorious offender. And there are more than 101 cases pending against him, out of which 18 are cases pertaining to disrupting the communal harmony and hurting the religious sentiments of the other community. So that is how he was actually taken into custody and the PD Act was invoked. And having said that, now coming to your Sar Tan Se Juda, these are the slogans which, if you remember, because I have been sitting on your channel for a long time, even not now, I think for more than a couple of years, and no one has, either me or anyone from our community or anyone from our party or anyone from the administration or anyone from the India has ever supported these kind of slogans. No one has supported these kind of slogans and no one will also support this. And whoever chants these kind of slogans, they have got no right to do that, and there is a police, there is a system to take cognizance of that, to take action against them, to book them and put them behind the bars. And no one will definitely come in the way to even save them. So this is what it is. And now, coming to the press release of the Hyderabad City Police, what you read it out. In fact, because the Hyderabad City Police has, narrated the entire sequence of the events on which basis Mr. T. Raja was arrested, and that is how the PD Act had to be invoked, and that is how he was put into the jail. So, and at the same time, the police is not keeping quiet. They are also, taking the action against all those who have indulged themselves in this slogan chanting, which we all oppose, which are unconstitutional, which are undemocratic, which are not approved by any one of us.
Okay. So, can I ask you a simple question, sir? I appreciate the stand that you have taken, unequivocally condemning these slogans. Can I ask you, why haven't you supported these slogans? What is wrong with these slogans?
These slogans, we don't, because see, what do you mean by Sar Tan Se Juda? Sar Tan Se Juda is you are trying to, behead somebody, which neither our law, nor the humanity, nor Islam, no one really allows that. So why?
Rahul, a small question, please.
One second, gentlemen, 1 second. Let's speak one at a time. Yes, 1 second, 1 second, Mr. Bhandari. Just give me 30 seconds. I just want to ask a follow-up question of Mr. Khaliqur Rahman. Mr. Rahman, you will appreciate that no one is interrupting you. So let me ask you the follow-up question.
I really appreciate, because today I'm really,
let me ask you the follow-up question. It's an important one. If you believe that these slogans are so heinous, like anyone would, and I share your view on this, why did these 90 slogan chanters, why were they released without any booking, without any FIR? Why were they released? Surely, if T. Raja Singh, for his horrendous statement, should be arrested and booked because it incites violence, then so should those 90 people be booked, because they are also, in your own words, inciting violence. What is so special about these 90?
There's anything special about these 90 people. The police, in fact, because when, they all gathered, and when they were shouting these slogans, but they were not saying Sar Tan Se Juda. I've seen all those slogans,
sir,
actually.
please.
No. Let me tell you. They were saying that we want justice, and they were saying that we want justice, or जो गुस्ताख रसूल है उसकी सजा फांसी की सजा means that is as per the law, as per the constitution. That is number one. And let me tell you, but if there are some people who have raised the slogans of Sar Tan Se Juda, then we have the CCTV there. The police will take cognizance of that. Police will identify their faces, and police will definitely book the cases against them if they are found guilty, and if they are found chanting those slogans. I am not saying that they will not be booked.
Right.
And now, have you heard of Nasreen
Sultana, Mir Sardar Ali? Have you heard of Zafar Khan? Have you heard of Sayyid Qadri? Have you heard of these people? They are AIMM cooperators. And they have chanted Sar Tan Se Juda on screen for the last 3 days, sir. These sound bites are being played on this channel.
Yes.
And nothing has happened.
Police is there. Police will do its jobs.
It's not doing it. That's why I'm asking you.
Let me tell you.
One telephone call from Mr. Owaisi shakes up the police. Rattles them so much that they release this chap. This man Kashyap, who is on my screen right now, he was here on this show 2 nights back. And today, sir, he was detained, he was arrested and let off within 5 minutes. 5 minutes he was let off.
Because he was not let off by police, he was let off by court. So, I mean, that's...
So was Mr. Raja. So was Mr. Raja. He was also let off by the police. But he's been rearrested.
Even, I mean, how are you not sure that Kashyap will not be rearrested? Police will definitely, make another application for rearrest.
Because, sir, I am quite sure, because Zafar Khan, Qadri, Zafar Khan, Qadri and Sultana, they've still not even been arrested once. That is why I know you're not going to be rearrested.
No. See, there's a system. Police will definitely work as per the system. The first and the foremost priority of the police was to maintain the law and order situation, and the police has ensured that no untoward incident like it happened in other states like in Karnataka, Rajasthan has taken place here. So the police has ensured to keep the law and order situation under control, and now that no one is going to get scot-free. No one is going to get scot-free. I'm saying this to you, and I want to assure you and reassure you.
Okay, so
whoever found guilty here. Yes.
Okay. Look, Mr. Rahman, I appreciate it. There are still some problems, and I will bring in both Ishkaran Bhandari and Rahul
just
Ishwar.
a 30-second question.
Yes, Ishkaran Bhandari, go ahead.
Can I point out one thing?
Mr. From TRS, you have been very
Mr.
and I compliment you, Mr. Hemani. I compliment you for saying that you don't support these slogans, but a simple fact. How many people arrested and what sections of law are they arrested in? That is the vital point. There are people on the road asking for murder. So what sections of law have you arrested in? Then come and say that courts have given bail or not given bail, because the entire thing lies in that detail. So please tell us authoritatively how many arrested and what section of law they have been arrested under. That's all.
You wait, please, you will get the details. But tomorrow you'll have all the details available with you. Because the police, in fact,
Well, look, viewers, I'll tell you the answer.
Submission to you.
I'll tell you the answer. One person called Mr. Kashyap, who sat on this show, and you'll remember him from 2 nights ago and bragged.
But one thing, Rahul, I want to ask you,
Mr.
why do you call such people to your show and glorify them?
One second. I'm not glorifying anybody, sir. By not acting against them, you're glorifying them and giving them the platform to constantly go out there and repeat it. Anyhow, I don't want to, as always.
You're making them the national figures.
No, sir, Mr. Rahman, if you were so bothered about glorifying people, you would not have invited Munawwar Siddiqui in the first place. You would not have invited him in the first place. You wouldn't have given him a platform in the first place.
Who invited Munawwar Siddiqui? We did not invite Munawwar Siddiqui. Munawwar Siddiqui is a mimicry artist who came on his own and he did a show.
Okay, so sir, there are several articles in mainstream media, and I want to bring in Rahul Ishwar, mainstream media, which have said that Mr. KTR in a open meeting said that that Munawwar Siddiqui is welcome in Hyderabad and will be given. Mr. Farooqi is welcome in Hyderabad and will be given full security by the state. This is widely reported. You can deny it, it's fine. But I want to bring in Rahul Ishwar. He wants to make a point. Yes, Mr. Ishwar. Rahul Ishwar, go ahead.
Just one submission. Khalik Rahman sir, just one submission. Sir, I am a Hindu activist, but I make it a point to say Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam whenever I take the name of Holy Prophet. Because we live in such a difficult time around the world. We need to have sensitivity. Please.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. But please understand the sensitivity. Even I have some relatives in Hyderabad. The problem is when somebody who is a non-Muslim listen to the word Sart and Se Juda, whether they are Hindus, Christians or non-believers, it has a spine-chilling effect. Suddenly we are reminded of these scenes from the ISIS-style beheadings. So it is extremely important that our moderate Muslim brothers who are in huge majority should come out and take a categorical position. See, I as a Hindu, I am always proud to say that Raja Singh is wrong. What Nupur Sharma said is wrong. Because Mahatma Gandhi, Vivekananda and all our great leaders, respected Prophet Jesus Christ, Sri Ram, Buddha or anyone. So it is incumbent and it is important for our... Just one more line, sir. Just one more line. I get your point. Just one more line. It is important that our Muslim community members stay strong in the mainstream, in the main light and say these kind of negativity is bad, and they should say louder. Gustakh Rasool ki ek hi sasa, Bharat ke Samvidhan, our IPC 153 or 295 or any relevant section that can be used for rioting or any kind of violence is important. Because otherwise our social fabric will be torn apart.
Absolutely, I fully endorse your word, every single word of yours, and I am with you, and we all have to work together to build a beautiful India.
Now viewers, Mr. Rahman said, no one invited from our ranks, no one invited Munawwar, the comedian, who said such vile, bad, nasty things about Lord Ram and Lord Sita that I cannot bring myself.
Absolutely. We cannot even say that.
I cannot bring myself to repeat them. Now this is what Munawwar Farooqi responded on August 14th, one day before our Independence Day. And he says, taking up on your kind invitation at KTR TRS sir, Thank you, Hyderabad, for the love. See you on the 20th of August. Book your tickets now. He goes on to say, one second. Let me finish.
Please go ahead.
What KTR had said in December 2021 when talking about Munawar Farooqi and Kunal Kamra. He said, and I quote, Hyderabad today is welcoming people from all over the country and all over the world. We are truly a cosmopolitan city. In our city, stand-up comedians get an open invite. We do not cancel shows of Munawar Farooqi and Kunal Kamra just because they are not aligned with them politically. We truly are welcoming. I am saying this to those people from Bengaluru. You claim to be a cosmopolitan city and end up taking comedy very seriously. I don't understand that at all, unquote. Therefore, we truly are a cosmopolitan city welcoming all cultures and criticism. You can come here and criticize the government. In fact, we receive a lot of brickbats from our opposition every day, but are very tolerant, unquote. This was in 2021, supporting Munawar Farooqi. Viewers, this man a year back in Madhya Pradesh, as I said such horrible things about Lord Ram and Goddess Sita that a large number of people in the Hindu community was shocked by. Now viewers, just think about this. Would the TRS leadership invite Salman Rushdie? Would they invite Taslima Nasreen and ask them, come speak, we are a cosmopolitan city, we are London, we are New York, come. They will never do it. Sushil Pandit, am I right or am I wrong? Will they do it?
Rahul, you are dealing with monumental hypocrisy. Right now, you talk about how Owaisi himself engineered the release of offenders, and then he says we uphold law, we uphold constitution, we uphold just and fair treatment. I am reminded of PFI processions, their march past. They carry at least a dozen odd tricolors in their first rank and file. When I am reminded of Shaheen Bagh, that was also held under a canopy of tricolors. You know, this is cynicism, this is hypocrisy at its worst. There is brazenness about it. They think they can get away with it. Hours before talking to you on the rule of law, if he intervenes in the police process, in the criminal justice system, and gets these hoodlums, these thugs released, how are we to believe these words? It is very nice to come and speak good things on TV channels. But let me remind you, I have been saying this for years. In Kashmir, not a single murder, not a single massacre, not a single rape has been punished till now. All these heinous crimes towards the genocide of Hindus in Kashmir have gone unpunished. It is not surprising to me at all that this jihad is now metastasizing across India. It is spreading and it is erupting in these slogans which are nothing but a forewarning of impending chaos, of riots on the streets, of murder and mayhem, because we are unwilling to punish, because we let powerful intervene in the process of criminal justice system. And this, I'm sure, is not going to be helped by people coming up to the channels and speaking sweet nothings, only prevaricating, only a ritual lip service so that they are considered politically right, but in their conduct, in their interventions, they are criminally complicit. We need a tough law which says anyone chanting Sartan Se Juda should be booked for incitement to murder, accessory to murder.
I fully support you.
Accessory to murder, and they should be put behind bars for long sentences, not to be intervened by powerful politicians and then let loose all over again. We've seen, and these are not empty threats, we've seen people carrying out these threats. We've seen many people lose their lives. to Sartan Se Juda chant.
And
hence it needs to be taken very, very seriously.
Very seriously. Let me bring in Danish Qureshi Saab, and let me bring in Muhammad Firoz Khan, whose brother viewers sat on this show yesterday and threatened to set ablaze the constituency of Mr. T. Raju. So, Danish Qureshi Saab, I want to ask you a question. Do you agree with the following sentence? Everyone hang Nupur Sharma from this very Aurangabad chowk. Do you agree with this statement, yes or no, Danish Qureshi Saab?
Rahul, first of all, go through the statement of AIMM chief, Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi. What did they have stated in the Surat? Recent after the statement come, what you are talking about Aurangabad. They very clearly said that AIMM की पॉलिसी बिल्कुल साफ है और इस तरीके के किसी भी नारे के या इस तरह की किसी की बात के का वो समर्थन नहीं करते. This was the statement of Asaduddin Owaisi in Gujarat, Surat, recently next day. Second thing,
so
Mr. Bhandari.
Qureshi Saab, no, 1 second. You can attack Mr. Bhandari. Just give me 2 minutes. So you're saying, you heard Mr. Owaisi saying that I do not tolerate these slogans like Sartan Se Juda, right? He also said, you are saying to me, that he would oppose anyone calling for the hanging, not beheading, hanging of Nupur Sharma from Aurangabad Chowk, right? Right? Why therefore is the MP Imtiaz Jalil still not show-caused, not suspended, pending response by the MIM chief? Number one.
Now
why did he then, number two, why did he intercede to free a bunch of youth who were caught on camera, and my reporter was there, and they were on the screen yesterday night saying that we will pay 1 crore bounty to behead Raja?
Rahul, first of all, my reply to you is that did BJP issue the so-called notice to Ashwini Upadhyay, the spokesman of Delhi unit of BJP, and Gajendra Chauhan, who are available, those who are chanting the slogan, "Jab mulle kaate jayenge to Ram Ram chillayenge"? Did anybody book them under the terror offences, which Ishkaran Bhandari was been demanding for that? Did Narsinganand was booked under the terror offences, who was planning to kill 20 lakhs of Muslims in India? Did anybody took action against them? Only you want to implement a law. Only you want to make accuse the people, those who are shouting, those who are chanting slogans in Hyderabad. But you will not react in Delhi. You will not react in UP. You will not do that.
So are you saying, Mr. Qureshi, that two wrongs make a right? For a few moments.
No, two wrongs can make a right.
Sir, listen to me. I go by your logic, because they didn't do it, that exempts us from doing it. Is that your answer?
No, this is the dual standard of the people, those who are the co-panelists, those who are demanding action against the people. Second thing is that what we saw in Kanhaiya Kumar matter, what we saw in Kanhaiya Kumar matter, that he was being booked, chanting slogan in JNU. And what did come in?
Mr. Qureshi, let's forget the history for a few moments, okay?
Why? We can't.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Now viewers, here is the problem. Because we will never have a starting point. We will keep going back in time. Is this a logical argument, Mr. Bhandari? That because they didn't do it, we are not going to do it. We also are going to be as venal as the other side.
Rahul, firstly, let us be clear on two simple facts. I started by saying anybody offering reward for killing of a person needs to be booked under terror laws for financing terror. Mr. Qureshi, you have a problem with that statement, probably because the people who started offering awards for those cartoons somewhere in Europe, two people offering rewards now, are
Mr.
all
Bhandari,
people you want to
support. My simple question to you is that...
If you, don't interrupt me, I didn't interrupt you. When you spoke about me, I didn't interrupt you. You can answer that. I just have two very simple. I just have two very simple points.
Did you demand?
I have two very simple points. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Who was planning to kill the 20
Let me
lakh?
answer.
20 lakh
Let me answer.
Muslims of the country.
The heckling won't save anything.
No, this is not
So
heckling. I want
I'm answering that. I am answering that. I am answering that.
Why did you? Why
I am answering that. Exactly.
Let
Let us. I'm answering that. If you let me answer. Firstly, anybody offering reward for murder of anybody should be booked under terror law, irrespective of religion. I am very happy with that law.
Did you make a question mark on UP police and Delhi police?
Second. When you talk about the case of Yati Narasimhanand, please understand the sections he was booked under. That is why I asked the TRC spokesman, please tell us the sections you are booked under, because he's remained in jail for a pretty long period of time. The problem is you are unwilling to book people under appropriate sections of law.
So let me tell you.
That is the problem.
1 second, let me step in here. No shouting.
Your demand is to book under the terror section. Why you didn't demand that?
I'll tell you, viewers. Yati Narasimhananda. You know, 1 second, let me just step in here. Lower everyone's faders, please. This is not right. Let's not shout over each other. Please, gentlemen, please. Let's maintain decorum. Bahut cheekna chingadna is already happening on the streets. Why do you want to replicate that behavior? Yati Narasimhanand was booked under the very draconian, stringent Gunda Act, viewers. All other sections of the IPC relating to hate speech were also slapped against him. Has that happened against Nasreen Sultana of the AIMM that Mr. Qureshi supports? Zafar Khan of the AIMM that Mr. Qureshi supports? Has it happened against Qadri of the AIM, Sayyid Qadri, or Mir Sardar Ali of the AIMM? No. In fact, viewers, these people have not even been booked. Mr. Qureshi, am I wrong or am I right?
No. What about Ashwini Upadhyay? What about Gajendra Chauhan? And let's come on next track. Let's come. Did you remember the statement? Rahul, give me 10 seconds. Rahul, give me 10 seconds.
Can you then admit? 1 second. Can you then admit very clearly that Owaisi is a two-faced liar? That he doesn't care.
This is your
1 minute. I'm only asking you. He's a two-faced liar. Let me ask you this question. Sir, let me ask my question.
I want to ask you one question.
Sir, if you allow me to ask you the question.
Told that ऐसा बटन दबाओ के वहाँ करंट लगेगा. कहाँ करंट लगाना चाहते थे वो?
1 second. Mr. Qureshi, Akbaruddin Owaisi also said something. He got also off by the court on a technicality. 1 minute. Let me just finish. Let me finish, sir, please. Okay, you can shout over me. Don't get agitated. I'm only exposing.
No, I'm not shouting over you. I want
1 second. 1 second. Mr. Qureshi, I am the first person to agree with you that anyone who makes horrific statements should be jailed under the most stringent section of the law. Iskan Bhandari is saying the same thing. Even the TRS chief is saying the same thing. Your beef is not with me. You don't have to attack me. I'm supporting.
No, I'm not attacking.
So 1 minute. So let me finish. So Qureshi Sahab, let me finish. But we cannot have a situation where, unless of course, the person is two-faced. Where Mr. Owaisi, these are not my words, these are Mr. Owaisi's words. I'll play them out for you. Viewers, let's go back to what Mr. Owaisi said. He's the one who took a very moral high position. He occupied the moral high ground. Listen to what he said. Let's play out Mr. Owaisi when he said, no tolerance for any of this nonsense. Listen.
हाथ काटना, सर काटना, ये रेडिकलाइज एलिमेंट्स है ये कानून को अपने हाथ में लेना चाहते हैं. अमन के दुश्मन है ये लोग. इसका मैं कंडेम करता हूं.
घर का दरवाजा तोड़ के हम उनको मार लेके
मतीन भी है ना उसमें.
जी हाँ, मतीन भी.
इरफान रियाज भी है ना.
जी हाँ. एहतेशाम.
एहतेशाम पे चले.
जी.
और भाई बहुत बुरा हुआ, वो मालूम होते कि मेरे को, मैं मुजफ्फर को बोला
जी जो आके मुजफ्फर कॉपरेटर साहब और समस्त कॉपरेटर साहब आके हम लोग रिहा करे और आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह।
अब जाओ 1:30 बज गया, सुबह 1:30 बज रहे, अब जाओ घर में परेशान होंगे।
जी
इंशाल्लाह मुजफ्फर समझ लिया कि आप घर पे छोड़ देंगे।
जी अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया साहब।
आराम से रहो, परेशान रखो, इंशाल्लाह मालूम होते कि हम हरकत में आए, मगर ये नहीं होना था वो।
जी साहब,
आप जाइए, घर को जाइए, आराम करिए।
जी अच्छी बात है साहब, शुक्रिया, जज़ाकल्लाह साहब।
हाँ, घर वाले परेशान होंगे आपके जाइए।
जी
ओके,
शुक्रिया साहब, जज़ाकल्लाह।
शुक्रिया।
These are radicalized elements. These are the enemies of peace. I condemn them. They must be punished. Not my words, Asaduddin Owaisi's words. He says them where? On Times Now. Within a few hours he picks up the phone and calls the very same radicalized elements, viewers, and says, घर चले जाओ, देर हो गई है, बहुत बुरा हुआ आपके साथ, we will escort you home. Viewers, what is this? What is this? And then you have an AIMM sympathizer, Danish Qureshi, who says, because it didn't happen with X and Y, so everything is maaf.
Shall I reply, Rahul?
So I'm asking you, is this, no,
Okay.
if Mr. Owaisi had said what you were saying, it's fine. Ki bhaiya, because they did not arrest X, Y, Z, all the people you named, therefore, don't go after AIMM netas. Fine. That's his position then. But you want to be this great self-righteous, pious Democrat on TV. And then, sir, at late night, you become a sympathizer and an apologist for hate. How does this work? Can you just explain this to me? Forget about everybody else. Ashwini Upadhyay, this Upadhyay, that Upadhyay. You just talk about this.
Okay, now come to the point. What is the offensive you saw in entire conversation? What did you believe that this is an offensive statement of what did Asaduddin Owaisi साहब said that देर रात हो चुकी है, इतना सारा हंगामा हुआ है, घर वाले चिंता कर रहे होंगे, वो किसी को भी फोन करके सुनिए
There is nothing offensive about this.
Yes,
it is hypocritical.
No, this is not hypocritical. This is your speculation.
This is doglapan. This is
your dual policy. Rahul, this is your dual policy.
Let me bring in.
That Mullah Khate jayenge.
Let me bring in Rahul.
They are, they should not be booked under the terror charges. But jo न्याय करेगा, तो you will show that Mr. Asaduddin Owaisi is talking. No, Rahul, you will show that
if this was 1 minute, if this was the president of the Bharatiya Janata Party talking to one of their own supporters who had been accused of hate speech, viewers, there would have been endless debates on national TV. One second, sir, don't shout. देखिए जी, कुरैशी साहब, if you're going to keep shouting, that's precisely what I'm saying. If you found that bad, that's precisely what I'm saying. 1 second. That's precisely what I'm saying. Viewers, if Mr. Qureshi, Danish Qureshi finds all those statements, 1 minute, if you find all those statements so reprehensible, and you want action.
You don't think that this all statements are reprehensible?
Okay.
Rahul?
Are you, sir, deliberately trying to provoke me?
No, I'm not trying to provoke me. You are having a dual standard.
I am
talking
not
about Mr. Owaisi, that Mr. Owaisi is hypocrite and Mr. Amit Shah is a good person. Ashwini Upadhyay is a very good guy. Rajendra Chauhan is a very good guy. The people those who have chanted the slogan that Desh ke gaddaron ko dash, they are very much loyal and patriot.
Mr. Qureshi, you are making a fool of yourself on national TV.
No, I am not making a fool.
Let me finish.
Okay.
बोलने तो दीजिए साहब.
बोलिए.
आप अपने अगर मेरे मुंह में अपना एक if you put your foot into my mouth, I won't be able to speak.
Okay.
I believe anyone, whether it is, what is his name, this chap that you are naming, this Ashwini Upadhyay, if he has made these statements, he should go to jail. Raja should go to jail.
Did anybody book him?
1 second.
No.
अरे भाई, If he didn't go to jail, you can still file a case, go move the courts. I'm not stopping you.
Sir, we saw
I am only holding you.
We saw it.
Okay, so you're fine.
We
So I'm
saw
not going to waste my time. Qureshi's argument is very clear. उन्होंने नहीं किया तो हम क्यों करें? ठीक है, ठीक है, okay, okay, ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. It's okay, sir. I accept your argument. Qureshi साहब,
we will give judgment on the case.
Qureshi साहब, I accept your argument. Fair enough. उन्होंने नहीं किया तो हम क्यों करें? अब वो गुंडे हैं तो हम भी गुंडे बन जाते हैं. अगर वो एपोस्टेट्स है तो हम भी बन जाते हैं. ठीक है. Eye for an eye, viewers, makes the world
Exactly.
okay. An eye for an eye makes the world blind. This is Pakistani logic. This is what they do in Pakistan. This is exactly what they do in Pakistan. If you do something against us, we will hang you. That's it.
All the people, all the members
Sir,
of BJP, they are
it is okay. So, Mr. Qureshi, if you are playing the victim card, you are most welcome to play the victim card.
Nobody is playing a
I just want to tell you one thing, viewers. Where does this lead? Where does this lead? Tomorrow, if a Hindu is murdered at the hands of someone from another community, all Hindus will come out and they will say Sartan se juda in their own language, and there will be no one to stop them. That is what it is. And that is what Mr. Qureshi is endorsing. उन्होंने नहीं किया तो हम भी क्यों करें? We don't want to set an example. हम उतने ही गुंडे बनना चाहते हैं जितने दूसरे लोग हैं. So fair enough, that's your point, good point. Great, sir. Salute you. I hope, sir, that you don't end up sparking a riot.
Are you trying to become a
I just hope you don't end up sparking a riot, because your words have been recorded. Unfortunately or fortunately, you're sitting in a state where you can say this. And you will get away because you belong to an important vote bank in Hyderabad. So the TRS will not act against you. They will promise that they will act, but they will not act against you. Khalikur Rahman will say, oh, so bad. What are you saying, Mr. Qureshi? This is not right. But they will release you, which is your good luck. Which is your good luck. Let me bring in Rahul Ishwar. Yes, Rahul Ishwar. Go ahead.
Qureshi ji, just one line. I'll only take one line. As a Hindu activist, I filed a FIR against Sathvi Prachi for her anti-Muslim comments, which was Muslim Mukh Bharat. See, people like us, whether Muslim or Hindu, we should be the first to take up line against these hardliners, taking a strong stand. You know, please go and file a complaint against these people who say Sartan se juda. We respect Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
He won't do it. He doesn't have the guts to do it. He doesn't have the morality to do it. He doesn't have the guts or the morals to do it.
Against them.
Mr.
Let you be the
change.
Be the change you want to see.
Yes.
And similarly, for Goli Baro or Raja Singh or Sathvi Prachi, file complaints. I'll be with you. We support you in filing complaints against Hindu and Muslim hardliners. Because hardliners are the issue. And they are destroying our peace.
इनमें ना दिल है ना दम है. इनमें ना दिल है ना दम है. They will not be able to do this. Why are you baiting Mr. Qureshi, Rahul Ishwar? He has proved what he is on national TV. He has no conviction. He has zero conviction, viewers. Lower his fader. There is no point giving these absolute hate mongers space beyond the point. What can you say to them? When they say, because others have not done it, we will abandon our principles. It is a bit like Gandhiji saying, British do violence. If British do violence, I will respond with violence. Did Gandhiji do that? He didn't, viewers. He stood his line. He turned the other cheek. He was beaten, jailed, subdued. But he won you your freedom through peace. They don't want to win the peace, viewers. They want to provoke violence. And that is why Khalikur Rahman's party is so critical to this debate. Because they run the state of Telangana, where this is happening, where there are people provoking the peace. Yes, I salute you for putting Raja in jail. Great, good job. But sir, don't expect praise for letting go of 90 people just because the AIMM, Mr. Owaisi, is an important political crutch for you. That doesn't work. And that is very sad. Let me also bring you face to face with Muhammad Firoz Khan. Muhammad Firoz Khan of the Congress party, whose brother and who himself has threatened violence is sitting here. The Congress party is not a friend of yours, Mr. Khaliqur Rahman. Yet his brother and he himself are free after having given incitement to violence on national TV. Mohammad Firoz Khan Sahab, क्या आपके भाई ने, did your brother not say, and I will bring out his soundbite, did he not say that I will burn down the constituency of A. Raja if he is not rearrested immediately? Yes or no?
Yes, बराबर बोला, वो सिचुएशन वैसा था और उन्हें जो भी बोला वो सही बोला.
अभी वो कहाँ है आपके ब्रदर? Where is your brother?
आवाम को कंट्रोल में लाना था.
ठीक है, आपके ब्रदर कहाँ हैं?
अब होंगे, अभी कहाँ? हैदराबाद में होंगे.
हैदराबाद में घर पे होंगे या कहाँ होंगे?
हैदराबाद में होंगे.
ऑफिस में होंगे?
मैं राइट नाउ आपके पास लखनऊ पे हूँ.
अच्छा, so he is in Lucknow.
क्योंकि मैं
Mr. Mohammad Firoz Khan is in Lucknow, but his brother is sitting a free man.
नहीं, मैं
and you know
लखनऊ
what he did? Okay, wait एक second. Khan साहब एक second. I want you to now listen to this soundbite. I played it yesterday.
जी.
And Mr. Rahman, you please listen to this. This is inside a police station, not outside. Inside a police station. Rampalli police station. Where he is saying, I will burn down the constituency. The entire constituency where T. Raja comes from, is elected from. If that is not a threat of violence, if that is not criminal intimidation, less than burn the IPC, sir. Here is the soundbite, and this man is still free in the state of Telangana, in the city of Hyderabad, the cosmopolitan city that doesn't give a platform to hate. Not my words, Mr. KTR's words. Play this out. Listen.
हमारे हुजूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम की शान में गुस्ताखी कर रहा है और हम खामोश बैठ के तमाशा देख रहे हैं. नहीं, तमाशा हम नहीं देखने वाले. अब हम सड़कों पे उतरेंगे और अल्लाह की कसम मैं बोल रहा हूं, अगर से 23 के दिन उसको अरेस्ट नहीं करेंगे राजा सिंह को, 24 के दिन मैं राशिद खान गोशा महल को अंगार में बदल दूंगा. मैं गोशा महल में दाखिल हो जाऊंगा और मैं किसी की नहीं सुनूंगा.
Gosha Mahal, viewers, is the entire constituency where there are many Hindus and Muslims living together. And this man is going to set it on fire if the person is not rearrested. He was rearrested because the Telangana government quaked. Instead of arresting him, they arrested T. Raja to appease this man. And this man is still free. Now, Mr. Rahman, what is the issue here?
Yeah.
I can understand you depend on AMM for support, but not the Congress.
Sorry. Sorry. Please don't say that. We don't have any kind of alliance, electoral alliance. No. Yes, absolutely. And
are you sure?
No party.
Are you sure?
100%. Did we
Should
have
I bring
any kind
out
of
some facts?
alliance?
Should I bring out some facts?
Please, we don't have it. That's a
okay,
fact.
let me bring out some facts. Let me bring out some facts. Okay. Now, viewers, during the 2019 election campaign on April 6th, this is what Mr. Owaisi said. KCR has a bigger heart than you. He is referring to Mr. Modi. KCR is a bigger Hindu than you. There is Zameen Asman ka fark between KCR's Hindu and Modi's Hindutva. This is what AMM chief said, urging voters to support Telangana Rashtra Samiti. Candidate Vemi Reddy, Narsimha Reddy, who is crossing swords with Telangana Pradesh Congress Committee TPCC President N. Uttam Kumar Reddy. Viewers, let me also tell you, it is because the MIM expended support to your mayoral nominee in the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation in 2021 that you are so indebted, isn't it, Mr. Rahman? I come with my facts. You deny that MIM did not extend support to your mayoral nominee, which you gladly accepted. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yes, I told you we did not have any kind of pre-poll alliance with any kind of electoral alliance with any party in Telangana.
You have an understanding.
Yes,
you have an understanding.
No, we didn't have any. No understanding.
Because of the support of the AMM.
if Mr. Owaisi has made that statement during the election, that is his personal opinion.
Right.
And
now, viewers,
it is not,
viewers,
it is not,
viewers,
it is not that because we have heard any.
It doesn't work like that in politics, viewers. It doesn't work like that, because when you get the support of a party in the mayoral election, you're obligated to that party. It's a quid pro quo. You may deny a pre-poll alliance. I never said there was a pre-poll alliance. I said there was an understanding. There is an indebtedness.
There was no understanding also.
There was an indebtedness. No. He supported your nominee. Without his support, would your nominee have won? Simple question. Yes, no.
Definitely, why not?
Come on, sir, the maths is not adding up. Please don't make a fool out of everybody on national TV. I'll give you the math also.
Yeah.
I come with all my numbers. So don't do this, please. Just accept the fact that, yeah, without their support, my nominee would not have won. It's very simple. Okay. If that is the case, viewers, there is a motive here for not acting against the MIM cadre that is going out there and doing this. But what I can't understand is that you won't even act against the Congress cadre. Is it really not about parties and it is about a community? Because the community support is important to you.
Rahul, let me tell you.
And because Hindus don't vote en masse as a united vote bank, is that the reason you can risk their ire? Just asking.
Rahul, yeah, because now I think we have in fact had enough of the Hindu-Muslim, debates on the TV. Now I think at least the time has come that we all have to stand together and, work as...
Sir, the only way you will be able to stand together, and I have written this in an article also, is when you equally apply the law against all communities, irrespective...
That is good.
One second.
Exactly that.
No, but if you are not going to, one community is going to feel sullen, upset, and there will be a backlash. It may not be today, it may be tomorrow, it may be day after. Viewers, this is what happens when you selectively apply. Now, February 2021, Owaisi said, I hope that... One second. Listen to this. This is Mr. Owaisi on record, never contested, viewers. And Mr. Rahman, I'm pointing this out to you. February 2021, I hope that GHMC, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, will carry out its works with honesty and financial propriety. Also appreciate TRS for offering us Deputy Mayor's post. They get the support for the Mayor's post, and I talked about quid pro quo, and they give support for Deputy Mayor's post. You know what that is called? It's called an interlocking agreement. Here it is.
That is actually out of the goodwill.
QED, viewers.
See, what happened?
QED. I rest my case. We have a big problem right now in Telangana. One community is being given a free run. Their hotheads are being given a free run. The other community, the person, very deservingly so, has been arrested. T. Raja. No one here, least of all the BJP that has suspended him and asked him why he should not be expelled, doesn't also hold cudgels for him. But you have people who are differentiating on religious lines, and then they are saying, why have all these debates? Viewers, that's because the truth must matter to at least someone in this country. The Constitution must matter to at least someone in this country. I leave it at that.
pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivchankar.
I do not get into Indian politics when I go abroad. You want to ask me that question, you come and ask me in India. What is Atmanirbhar Bharat about? You asked this colonial mentality question. Atmanirbhar Bharat is also about overcoming the colonial mentality. That somewhere something better is made. It doesn't have to be made outside to be better. It can be made in India and be equally good, maybe even better. What happened after the 1990s was we opened our economy, and which was the right thing to do, because at that time there was too much state control, our economy was not competitive, it was important, we dealt more with the world, all of that was very good. But what happened in India was that business houses, when the economy opened up, they were naturally, what are business people most concerned about? They are concerned about, making profits, having a good supply system. So you had a situation where, in order to build their own businesses, in India, we started importing more and more from other countries. Now, if you contrast this, not only with China, if you look at Korea, you look at Japan, I'm giving those as some examples. These countries built up their economy not just by having big business, but also having a supply chain within the country.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the 5th of January this year, an unacceptable security lapse took place that has left the Aam Aadmi wondering that if it can happen to the Pradhan Sevak or the Prime Minister of this country, then what will happen to them, the Aam Aadmi? Prime Minister Modi was left exposed and vulnerable for a good 20 minutes on a flyover under full public glare in Firozpur. Today, the Supreme Court panel has admitted that there were lapses on the part of the Punjab police. In a severe indictment, the panel has said Firozpur SSP failed to discharge his duty to maintain law and order. He failed to do this even though sufficient force was available and even though he was informed 2 hours before the Prime Minister Narendra Modi was supposed to enter into that route. Congressman who was the Chief Minister at that time, Charanjit Singh Channi, at that point of time had trivialized the security breach. He said that PM was completely safe and that nobody would have even thrown a small piece of stone at the Prime Minister. Listen in to what the then Punjab Chief Minister, Mr. Channi, had said.
अरे मैं फिर कह रहा हूँ पीएम को यहाँ कोई खतरा नहीं था, ना ही हुआ है, ना ही कभी होगा, और वो बिल्कुल सेफ थे। उनकी सिक्योरिटी चारों तरफ थी, कोई उनके नज़दीक नहीं गया, कोई दूर से कंकर नहीं फेंका, कोई नज़दीक 1 किलोमीटर तक उनके सामने नहीं आया, तो इसमें क्या है। लेकिन मैंने आपको पहले ही बता दिया था कि प्रियंका गांधी जी से बात हुई थी, जो भी यहाँ बात हुई मैं उनको बता दी थी।
Armed with the Supreme Court panel finding, the BJP went after the Congress party. It said that anything could have happened in a span of those 20 minutes. Calling it a clear-cut case of a conspiracy, BJP asked who leaked the Prime Minister's route information. Listen in to Anurag Thakur, Information and Broadcasting Minister.
और जिस पुल पे जाकर वो उनका काफिला रुका, उससे मात्र 100 मीटर की दूरी पर आंदोलनकारी, आप कल्पना कीजिए भारत के प्रधानमंत्री पुल पर हो, 10 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर पाकिस्तान का बॉर्डर हो, जहां पे तोप की आप रेंज में हो, स्नाइपर्स की रेंज में हो सकते हो, वहां से गोली बारूद चल, कुछ भी हो सकता था। और पंजाब पुलिस मूक दर्शक बनकर 20 मिनट तक खड़ी रही। पंजाब के मुख्यमंत्री फोन पर भी उपलब्ध नहीं थे, ना व्यक्तिगत तौर पर थे। एसएसपी ने हाथ खड़े कर दिए थे। कुछ भी हो सकता था। प्रदर्शनकारियों को प्रधानमंत्री के रूट के बारे में जानकारी किसने दी? एसएसपी किससे बार बार फोन पर बात कर रहे थे? किसके निर्देश ले रहे थे?
This is not the only blow that jolted the opposition today. The charge that Modi Sarkar used Pegasus spyware to snoop on institutions, politicians and others. Another Supreme Court panel said that there was no conclusive evidence, but case after case, the opposition's defense is breached. In 2018, Rahul Gandhi had said Rafale jet deal is India's biggest ever scam, but in 2019, the Supreme Court had dismissed all review petitions saying they lacked merit. Rahul Gandhi had alleged that Modi government bought Pegasus to snoop on rivals, but Supreme Court panel today said that inconclusive proof that Pegasus was used in the 29 phones that were analyzed. Trinamool Congress Member of Parliament Shatrughan Sinha in March said the CBI, ED and other agencies were used by the BJP to target the opposition, but you've seen mounds of cash that were found at Trinamool Congress senior leader and minister Partha Chatterjee and his close associates. In 2019, Rahul Gandhi had said the Supreme Court agreed that Chaukidar chor hai, but he had to offer an unconditional apology for misquoting the Supreme Court as well. But the opposition is refusing to budge on the Pegasus issue. It says that the Modi government's non-cooperation with the Supreme Court panel is an acceptance it had something to hide. BJP Member of Parliament and former Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad responded to that charge. Listen.
ये देशद्रोह का मामला है, राजद्रोह का मामला है। क्या राहुल गांधी कांग्रेस पार्टी माफी मांगेगी, जिस पर इतना तूफान खड़ा किया कि भारत में जनता की प्राइवेसी को नुकसान बताया जा रहा है, इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया जा रहा है, प्रधानमंत्री अपने पार्टी के अंदर पेगासस के द्वारा सर्वेलेंस करा रहे हैं, आरोप शुरू हो गया। तो क्या आज कांग्रेस पार्टी माफी मांगेगी?
So the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight, has the opposition's defense been breached? That's the question and that's the debate. Target Modi plot. That's the hashtag and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Sanju Verma, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow of the ORF. Also joining me tonight, Tehseen Poonawala, Political Analyst. Ghanshyam Tiwari, National Spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, will join us in just a minute. Tausif Ahmed, Lawyer and Political Analyst. But my first question goes to Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, scientist, what have you. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, every trick in the book has been used by the opposition to target, and I'm I'm not being light-hearted on this. Of course, the opposition has a right to ask questions of the ruling party and the Prime Minister. It's their job and it is their constitutional duty. But they've raised questions on every single thing. Agnipath, today the Delhi High Court has not given a stay. Rafael, Chaukidar Chor hai, Jai, you know what happened. The Supreme Court dismissed that entire charge. After that came the issue of the agencies. You know the mounds of cash that have been found, and AK-47s these days possibly also being used. All of these charges. But the worst thing that has come up today is also the issue of the Prime Minister being put on target. His life being in danger because an opposition ruled state could not ensure his security. And today the Supreme Court has given the verdict on that. What does this tell us about the politics, and don't you think it's time for accountability from the Congress on this?
Good evening, Navika, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. There are two issues here, Navika, and I'm glad that you touched upon something other than the PM security, which I will harp on just in a minute. But we have to look at the larger picture here. And the larger picture is that I think the opposition should realize now, or at least the people should, that a huge chunk of the reason why Modi keeps winning is not just because of his policies, but also because of the policies of the opposition. It constitutes a huge chunk of the vote that Modi gets, because he knows all he has to do is to sit back. The opposition plays right into the Prime Minister's hand. Now, as you said, there is nothing wrong in being critical of the Prime Minister. The problem comes when you are critical on the wrong issues and full and brimming with agenda. You talked about Rafale, you talked about Pegasus. Navika, you forgot about Justice Loya. You forgot about a lot of other things, Ayodhya. You forgot about so many instances where the opposition, in its haste, just because it hates Modi, just because its hatred is more bitter than a mocktail of neem and Karela juice. And that is what Modi knows. Modi knows that sooner or later what happens is that the hatred for him transmogrifies into hatred for India. So while the hatred for him might garner some votes for the opposition, the people know that those who start hating India, people would never vote for them, and that is exactly what is happening. Modi hate is fine. हेट करना है करो, लेकिन उस चक्कर में इंडिया को हेट करना शुरू कर दिया हर पॉलिसी पे, चाइना पे, रफाल पे, ऑन एवरीथिंग, and that is the problem that the opposition doesn't. Now, if I can take a couple of minutes, because this is a mirror of sorts, what the Supreme Court has said today. And to be honest, that this was a shocking breach of security and protocols was beyond doubt. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court agrees and has held the SSP responsible. What remains to be established, however, is whether this was collusion or plain incompetence. Three issues here, Navika, and let me delve into them one by one very briefly. Number one, it was established that the SPG had briefed the state administration and police multiple times about the possibility of a road blockade because of protests, about an alternate route, even about bad weather and the chances of it infringing on the security arrangement. Number two, it was established how this information was freely shared by the state police with the protesters. Three, it was established by the Supreme Court that ASL was conducted by the SPG almost 5 days ago. Now these are facts. They cannot be disputed. So I ask, why didn't the heads roll? Congress leaders and their minions, some of them are on the panel tonight, were on an overdrive ridiculing the nation's concern at this serious lapse. Remember the incident when the same Congress created so much hue and cry about a spot of green laser light that fell on Rahul Gandhi's chest oppressor 2 years ago, which they claimed was from a sniper gun. Turned out it was a flashlight from the camera of a Congress party photographer. But these same guys claimed it was an attempt to assassinate their great leader. Modi and Shah were implicated. Their parliament well was rushed at. The streets were poured onto. Op-eds were written on vengeful Modi. And when a Supreme Court verified lapse occurs that jeopardizes life and limb of a sitting Prime Minister, these same guys are silent. Hardly surprising, therefore, that a narrative was built over weeks preceding this lapse to make the PM feel guilty of his security cover, starting with all that hullabaloo over 12 crore armored Maybach, even though, as the government later clarified, it was all under routine. But Navika, just 10 seconds. For all those who called this a jumla and that Modi was scared, let me remind them, that this is the same Modi who continued to deliver his speech even when bombs were exploding all around him in Patna. This is the same Modi who at the height of Kashmir insurgency and intifada went all the way to Lal Chowk without a bulletproof jacket and unfurled the tricolor. So think before you make a fool of yourself. Respect the post of the Prime Minister at least. Yeah.
Tehseen Poonawalla, I want to ask you, it's not just about the SSP of Firozpur. The issue is that Mr. Channi, who was the then Chief Minister, made light of the entire issue. The Congress party poo-pooed it. They all said, oh, rally mein koi nahi aaya tha. The buses did not reach, there were no people to reach over there, and that's why this drama has been created. Today I want to ask you, Tehseen Poonawalla, is it time for the Congress party to soul search and apologize to the nation? Because today Mr. Modi is the Prime Minister, tomorrow it will be somebody else, day after tomorrow it will be somebody else, but it is a sacrosanct constitutional position as a head of the country, a man who represents the people of India, whose life was put in danger. Today, Tehseen Poonawalla, is it time to fix up accountability and to apologize to the nation?
Namaskar, Navika ma'am. A lot of things have been said by my dear friend Dr. Anand Ranganathan, who I hold in high esteem, and I am trust that because a lot of allegations have been made, I will be allowed the same amount of time to rebut each one of them. For starters, Dr. Ranganathan, Neem and Karela, one does not hate it. It is good for the health of the country. It is good for the liver. It is good for the body. Mr. Modi and BJP are not good for the country. And a truly anti-national thing is, as the Supreme Court said today, that the Prime Minister, present government refused to cooperate with it. What is truly anti-national is overturning a Supreme Court judgment in the ED case and appointing his minions as ED director after Supreme Court says in writing. I don't want to go there. Let's speak about the Prime Minister's security, because I think that is the more pressing issue. We will come to Pegasus later on in this debate with Sushanji also entering. There is no doubt in my mind, and I can speak for myself, that my Prime Minister, whether I have differences with Mr. Modi or no, he's my Prime Minister and he must be secure. Ultimately, India has lost two Prime Ministers from the Congress. It's the Gandhi family that have lost two Prime Ministers. Some of the assassins were taken, their relatives were taken into the BJP. The others were even felicitated by the BJP. Rajiv Gandhi's SPG was withdrawn. That's not the point out here. Let's come to the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is, there is no doubt there was a lapse in the Prime Minister's security. I said this then, I said this now. There is no doubt there was a local failure. Of course there has to be. But the final arbitrator and administrator of that blue book is nobody else but the SPG, and this is somebody who knows a little bit about SPG. The SPG, even Anand, has its own communication chains. It does not rely on a normal communication. It has its own communication channel. And yet the SPG, the drones are provided. No, please, Anand, please, it's very important.
No, this is rapid fire.
No, it's not rapid fire. It is absolutely not rapid fire. I'm going to rebut you. In fact, the drones
label
are
says
provided.
rapid fire.
That may say that, but don't interrupt me. You rebut me. Do you know, Anand, the drones are provided by the BSF out there. BSF's jurisdiction had increased in Punjab for security, but of course it was SPG and local police that were giving the security. Of course there was local police failure, but SPG should have taken a call, taken a U-turn the minute there was the roads were blocked. The SPG allowed the Prime Minister to sit there like a sitting duck for 20 minutes. The drones also communicated with the SPG.
This is scandalous. Sorry.
Which is the reason, Tehseen Poonawalla, that Nana Patole tweeted कि जो बोया है वो ही पाओगे. That is why Nana Patole said this. You know, Anand Ranganathan, look at it. Even today they will not take onus.
Yes. No, I know Tehseen no, Tehseen, please.
Sorry.
You know, and you please. Yes, and you please ask the anchor Navika. Rapid fire means that I am allowed to interject, but I gave you the grace. I did not interject, so please allow me 20 seconds.
And I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Number one, I think, Tehseen, you must apologize on two counts. Number one, to the SPG, because if you look at the terms of reference of the Supreme Court committee, they have clearly okayed and not blamed the SPG at all. As I told you, the ASL was conducted by SPG 5 days ago before the whole thing. And its solely responsibility by the Supreme Court is on the shoulders of the SSP. So please apologize to SPG. Number two, I give you 4 instances where you and the whole opposition went running to the Supreme Court saying Modi is guilty. Those 4 instances are Justice Loya, Rafale, Pegasus, and on the security lapse. On all 4,
All four Supreme Court has sided with PM Modi. Can you please at least teeny weeny छोटी मोटी apology नहीं कहनी तो कह दो मुझे माफ कर दो मोदी जी, ये तो कह दो कम से कम.
I firmly believe that as so far as the Punjab issue is concerned, if we do not soul search and question the SPG, we are going to see even more tragedies, and I hope it never happens. The SPG is the final security arbitrator for the Prime Minister. It should have taken a U-turn. The SPG override everybody.
Well, then why, Mr. Tehseen Poonawala, did you chest beat when the SPG was withdrawn from the senior leaders of the Congress party? Number one. Now, if the SPG is so incompetent, तो फिर इशू क्या था? जाने देते उनको. And then if the SPG's blue book has to be followed, why did Mr. Rahul Gandhi on several occasions flout the same rules set by the SPG? Why don't you give the accountability on that score? Because if something had happened, you and your party would have gone all over town to say, हाय इनका तो यही डिजाइन था, and they would never have enlisted the fact that they had flouted the norms of the blue book. Tehseen Poonawala, take a break, take a chill pill while I get in Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari. Take a chill pill. 1 minute. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari. Mr. Ghanshyam Tiwari, on several issues, as we have cited, on several issues, the questions that have been raised by the opposition, and of course, it's your job, your duty, and your right to raise these questions against the ruling party of the country. But to pick up issues which finally fall flat because they are low on facts, doesn't it create a credibility crisis for the opposition?
Good evening, Navika ji, to you, the viewers, and my fellow co-panelists. I believe that anybody who, with an intelligent and honest mind, looks at the Pegasus affair will clearly see that this government is under serious accusation and they are not cooperating because they want to escape this accusation. Now, there are henchmen of this government, from institutions in India to institutions in media. They may want us to believe that this government is innocent. But anybody with an intelligent and honest mind can read through the international press, read through the Economic Times itself in 2021 that beautifully explained what Pegasus is and what the government is accused of, and then can make up their mind. So I think we are in a post-truth stage where people like Anand Ranganathan, who are very learned, where somebody like you who has great exposure can come and present a case that this government has nothing to do with Pegasus. This government stands with NSO. It established a partnership with the Israeli government. When even NSO I heard the leadership is stepping down, Israeli government is not standing with NSO. Today, if there's the only democratic country where the government stands with NSO, it is the government of India. And where the media stands with the government on this issue, it is India. So I think I don't have to make a case here. It is for people, after all, I am a spokesperson for a political party, but believer in democracy, and when dishonesty is at such a large scale that media will make a case that government is innocent, I would not speak. I raised my case. Anand here believes that government is innocent. You believe that government is innocent. Maybe you are much more intelligent, and a future generation will judge whether you were batting for the government against the democracy or you were speaking with a conscience.
Well,
Navika, can I come in here?
Tiwari, on corruption issue, democracy dies, but mounds of cash are found. On Rafale Chori issue, democracy dies every day, yet the Supreme Court rejects it. On the issue of the Prime Minister's own security, the opposition really should be standing here and seeking forgiveness from the country, but democracy will die if that happens. So Sanju Verma, you know, if they say that there are certain henchmen and people who run an agenda to protect the Prime Minister, the same can be said about the henchmen and the agenda on the other side, that they always target the Prime Minister and target him on everything and come up with nothing. Sanju Verma?
Yes, Navika, you know, we are 24 minutes into the debate. A lot of points have been raised by a couple of panelists. I will quickly rebut some of the baseless allegations against the BJP. First and foremost, the Supreme Court is not a handmaiden of the Modi government. Justice Ramana clearly said that the Ferozpur SSC engaged in dereliction of duty. And I think Anurag Thakur, the Minister for Information and Broadcasting, he categorically asked a few questions and the Congress has yet to come clean on that. The point is this, Tehseen spoke about the Blue Book. There was an amendment made in the Blue Book in 2019, and that amendment of the Blue Book says that only the inner cordon around the Prime Minister, the responsibility of that rests on the SPG. But even the perimeter of that cordon is decided by the relevant state government. I have one question to ask. Why is it that when Prime Minister Modi landed on 6th January 2022 at Bhatinda Airport for his rallies and to inaugurate 42,000 crore worth of development projects, did Charanjit Singh Channi as per protocol receive the Prime Minister? No. Did the Chief Secretary of Punjab receive the Prime Minister? No. Was the DGP there at the Bhatinda Airport? No. So the fact is that protocol was violated from the word go. And now I will tell you something else. Forget what the BJP is saying. Look at what the ADG Law and Order of Punjab says. He says that he wrote to the then DGP Siddharth Chattopadhyay on 3 occasions. 1st January 2022, 2nd January 2022, 4th January 2022, saying that barely 2 weeks back, there has been a bomb blast within the premises of the Ludhiana court. Hence, we have to be even more careful about the PM security. Let us have a contingency plan in place. So a contingency plan was already there, and a contingency drill was also conducted, Navika, on the 4th of Jan, 1 day before Prime Minister's arrival at Bhatinda. I want to ask if the contingency plan was there, if the contingency drill had been rehearsed, if the ADG says that the DGP had enough information that there could be, some elements, nefarious elements who could disrupt the Prime Minister's rally. What stopped the top brass of the Channi dispensation? What stopped Charanjit Singh Channi from being present there along with the Prime Minister as per protocol? He said, मुझे कोविड हुआ था, आपको कोविड हुआ था, पर 2 घंटे के बाद तो आप प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस दे रहे थे, तब आपको कोविड नहीं हुआ. And I also want to ask one thing. Congress has this habit of giving legitimacy to anything and everything that is pro-Modi. Till today, the nation awaits answers on why Shyama Prasad Mukherjee died under mysterious circumstances under detention in 1953. Why did Lal Bahadur Shastri die 1 day after signing the Tashkent Agreement? Why did ex-Chief Minister of Punjab Pratap Singh Kairo die under mysterious circumstances when there was a Congress government at the center? Why did Madhav Sindhya?
Oh my God, that's a lot of questions. That's a lot of questions, Sanju Verma. The Congress is not answering the first one of them.
May I please finish? May I please finish in 30 seconds? You gave a lot of time to everybody.
This is defamatory.
You gave a lot of time to
allegation that Congress killed Madhav
Please allow me 30 seconds. Navika, I refuse to engage with Tessie because he has...
No, I don't want to engage. But what kind of... How can you allow
One minute.
How is this being allowed on the show?
Sanju Verma ji, you've raised a lot of questions and you've raised a lot of questions as far as the security issue is concerned. So let me get in Mr. Sushant Sareen.
Let me finish in 30 seconds, please.
Jyotiraditya Scindia endorsed this. I'm seriously asking this. I never get upset, Navika ma'am. It's extremely disrespectful. How can you just allow things like this to be spoken? Does Jyotiraditya endorse this? I'm seriously asking this. I'm sorry. You cannot come here and say,
what is the point you want to rebut her on? What is the point you want to rebut her on? Tessie Poonawalla, I'll give you time to rebut her.
Stop this. You cannot allow somebody to be defamed this way. I'm sorry.
What is the defamation? What is the defamatory part?
You have no answers to how Madhav Sindhya died. No answers to how. What is going on? Is this the topic for today? Is Jyotiraditya Scindia endorsing this? He's in their party. How is this being allowed on national TV?
I will not allow this debate to be sidetracked. I will not allow this debate to be sidetracked. 1 minute. I'm getting in Sushant Sareen. Sushant Sareen. 1 minute, Sanju Verma ji, please. Let's get order.
You gave everybody so much time to barely get the half the time.
Stick on the topic, yeah?
I've just got a count. You have spoken for 3 minutes, and 3 minutes in a debate uninterrupted is a long period of time. But let me get in the others. Let's be courteous. Sushant Sareen, the question is here. The question is, was there an agenda to target the Prime Minister's life, his well-being? Because the opposition has to oppose and target the Prime Minister, and can that be seen as a conspiracy, and is it really acceptable today?
Navika, I wouldn't go as far as to call it a conspiracy to bodily harm the Prime Minister, but I would imagine that there was something amiss out there, because as Sanju Verma just said, the absence of the Chief Minister, the absence of the Chief Secretary, the absence of the DGP who is a blue-eyed boy of the now convicted Navjot Singh Sidhu, who had insisted that he be made the DGP. So there was something not quite right. And what I find surprising about the Supreme Court report today is that, just blaming an SSP, the SSP is a minor cog in this entire government machinery. You mean to tell me that the SSP of a district in a small state like Punjab has the kind of, wherewithal to defy and sabotage a prime ministerial visit? I find that somewhat strange to believe, until and unless that SSP had got orders or had been told to stand aside. I can't imagine an SSP of a district defying the government of India and sabotaging the visit of a Prime Minister. Now, the fact that this was a security breach is of course very clear. Now, given the situation out there, something untoward could have happened. Now, I don't know whether there was a conspiracy or not. I'm not in a position to say anything, on that. But the fact of the matter that a Prime Minister like Mr. Modi, who is probably, attracts a lot of these haters, he has his share of haters, as I've had other Prime Ministers in this country, this kind of a security breach is inexcusable. But frankly, I am not happy with the Supreme Court report. I think it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. And I wish that the central government was to look into that security breach much more carefully. Just one more thing. This tendency which is increasingly started happening in our political life, that everything which the governments, whether of the state or the center or political parties, do not want to do on their own, they shove it to this judiciary. I think we are on a very, very slippery slope by inviting the judiciary to now talk about the security breach, to now look into whether the Pegasus thing had happened or not, for the judiciary entering into virtually every field of our life, including whether political parties in their manifestos should have freebies or not have freebies. That's a political question. How does the Supreme Court enter into it?
Well, then how do you stop people from going to the Supreme Court, Sushant Sareen, if people have taken the Pegasus matter to the Supreme Court?
But this is where, but this is where the Supreme Court has to enter and exercise some degree of restraint on what are the matters it will hear and what are the matters it will not hear. For virtually everything, if the Supreme Court is going to be stepping in, you will become an ungovernable country. The Supreme Court, tell me something, what is the rationale for the Supreme Court to talk about freebies?
Absolutely, these are political issues in the domain of executives, and at best a political issue. So let me ask Mr. Tausif Ahmed. Tausif Ahmed, on the issue of Pegasus, we go to Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court says nothing in Pegasus cannot be proved, there is malware in 5 of the 29 phones given, we're still questioning it. We are saying the government did not cooperate.
Navika, there will be malware in virtually every phone these days.
Absolutely.
All kinds of, especially many of the Android phones are full of malware. So, to say that any malware which has been detected had to be Pegasus, it was an independent inquiry commission. They could have actually found out if there was a traces of Pegasus.
He says it is because of malware.
Oh, well, let's not make light of this. But Tausif Ahmed, the issue here is that we are fighting on issues, at least the political parties are fighting on issues which are indefensible. You know, the Prime Minister or the government should not be using the ED or the CBI to fight corruption. And when there are raids, there are mounds of cash found. Rafale, there was chori, the Supreme Court says, but we will continue to believe that yes, there was corruption. We don't have any evidence, but we will continue to believe. We will not believe the Supreme Court. But then on Pegasus, we will go to Supreme Court and we will not believe what it says. So Tausif Ahmed, opposition and questioning is fine, but are we taking this too far, and are we looking at a country where the real issues between political parties which should be debated, thrashed, because that is the domain of executive, you know, the point that Sushant Sareen made is actually being sorted out in courts, and the judiciary is more powerful than the executive ever was, just because everybody is fighting with each other even on the issue of the Prime Minister's security?
Navika, I think we must refrain from criticizing judiciary's intervention in the matter of Pegasus. When the Pegasus story came up, there was allegation that the Pegasus spyware was used against the citizens. And by citizens, it meant mainly the opposition political leaders, including judges and so on. And a demand was raised by the opposition leaders to discuss this inside the parliament. Why did the government not allow a discussion on this issue inside the parliament? Then as a last resort, where do people go? They will go to the judiciary. The courts and the judiciary of the country is a last resort to save the democracy. Unless we accept that democracy is no in our country, it is a dictatorship. The final word, the last word is the ruling dispensation, and you have no other alternative. You will not go anywhere. You will sit inside home and cry. But today we must not condemn judiciary just because judiciary.
Okay, nobody is condemning the judiciary. But then will you believe the verdict? Will you believe the verdict? Will you believe the verdict? The verdict says no Pegasus. The verdict says no Pegasus, no proof of Pegasus. But you won't believe that verdict also. So why do you go to court?
Proof come. Government did not cooperate.
The government did not cooperate. All right, government did not cooperate. That's the point you're making. All right, I'm going to get Sanju Verma to respond to that. 1 minute, I'll get Sanju Verma to respond to that. Anand, short interjection. You're raising your hand. Yes.
I have a point to make.
Very quickly.
Navika, may I please?
Navika. Yeah, Sanjuji, just 1 second. Navika, both Sushantji and Tausif Bhai have made very important points. Let me address them within 30 seconds. Sushantji said, where is the need for everything to be taken to the Supreme Court? I must say I disagree with that, because let us look at the two, not just independent, because the opposition has cast shadows, doubts on them as well. Let us look at the two most...
I don't know why you call the BJP if you don't want a static debate.
Navika, can I continue or am I going to be interrupted?
Sanjuji, I'm coming to you in 30 seconds. Yes, Anand.
What's going on here? Yeah, thank you. So let us look at the two most independent institutions in our country. They are the Election Commission and the Supreme Court. The Election Commission is no longer considered as independent by the opposition.
ED are not independent.
Can I, Tausif bhai, I was coming to you. I am agreeing with you, यार. एक बार सुन तो लो आप please.
नहीं, पर वो CBI ED भी independent नहीं है. वो cash मिल गया था, वो गलती से मिल गया था.
Navika.
You know, I was continuing. There's so many interruptions. Navika, can I please, with your permission?
But your 30 seconds are very long, so I'm timing you 30 seconds.
May I please?
Yes.
They are long because people keep on interrupting me. They are stretching it. क्या करूं मैं? मेरी क्या गलती है?
अरे भाई विक्टिम कार्ड मत खेलो, बोलो 20 seconds.
Okay. So number one, सब चीज काट दी मैंने. बस ये पूछना चाहता हूं तौसीफ भाई से, जो कि कह रहे हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज द लास्ट रिजॉर्ट फॉर डेमोक्रेसी. सो तौसीफ भाई, डू यू एग्री विद द सुप्रीम कोर्ट दैट देयर वाज नो करप्शन इन रफाल? Yes or no?
No, they will not believe the Supreme Court. I've already asked that question, not on Pegasus, not on Rafale. Sanju Verma, on the Pegasus issue, they say, why did you not cooperate with the Supreme Court?
You know, Navika, I will need more than 30 seconds. I will need at least 2 minutes. And I want to make this very clear that when it comes to Pegasus, the Supreme Court has categorically said that 29 mobile phones were examined by a Supreme Court committee and there was no Pegasus software found in those phones. Point number one. Point number two, the Israeli company NSO has categorically denied any links with the Indian government, saying that our software is only for terror organizations and for authoritarian regimes in Uganda, Morocco, Togo, what have you. Third and most important point, everyone on this panel will agree, Washington Post, to my knowledge, has never written a positive op-ed or article on the Modi government. Now, who conducted an independent inquiry as to whether the Modi government actually used Pegasus to spy on politicians, journalists, what have you? There were three entities. There is a entity called Forbidden Story, there was Washington Post, and there was Amnesty International. Neither Forbidden Story, nor Amnesty International, which is anti-Modi, nor Washington Post, which is anti-Modi, said that yes, Pegasus was used by the Modi government. These three anti-Modi entities said that Pegasus spyware was never used by the Modi government. Now let me come to the more important point. You know, Sushant Sareen raised a very important point about why Supreme Court is getting into everything. But imagine if Supreme Court was not there. I remember the most historic judgment in the last 2 decades. It's not the Rafael judgment, it's not the Ram Mandir judgment. It is on June 24, 2022. The Supreme Court gave a clean chit to the SIT probing the Gujarat riots and clearly said that Teesta Setalwad was acting at the behest of some Malafide elements. There was no larger criminal conspiracy by Narendra Modi. I think this is the biggest slap to the leftist ecosystem which has been hounding Narendra Modi for the last 2 decades.
Ghanshyam Tiwari wants to come in. Ghanshyam Tiwari wants to...
Quickly to Tehseen Poonawala, Navika. Quickly to Tehseen Poonawala. Tehseen, you accused me and you said you will file a defamation case.
I never said, I said it's defamatory. I said it's defamatory.
I said let us find out the mysterious circumstances under which Syama Prasad Mukherjee was killed, Lal Bahadur Shastri was killed, ex-Chief Minister Punjab Pratap Singh Kehro was killed, and of course Madhav Sindhia was killed. Why are you rattled? Chor ki daढ़ी mein tinka.
May I please make a reply since it's a personal allegation?
Tehseen, I would also want to ask you, if you say there was no conspiracy on the Prime Minister, then who was the SSP taking orders from? Was he acting on his own? Is he the smallest cog in the wheel? And why were the DGP and the Chief Minister not present despite protocol requiring them to be there? And why did the Chief Minister then talk about everything was fine, ek patthar bhi nahi pada unse, and why was every Congress leader in the book not talking about the security breach, only talking about how the BJP was making the Dalit Chief Minister look small? I want to ask you this question and you need to respond.
Of course I have to. It's my duty to respond and I will. But please allow me to respond because it's slightly complicated answer. A, I completely agree with Sushant ji that an SSP is too small and therefore I am saying this and I've said this then on your show that anyone who's involved must be held accountable. And if an SSP was taking orders from anybody else, ultimately this is our Prime Minister, right? So we have to be accountable. Ultimately, Rajiv Gandhi, come on, yaar, you cannot interrupt me, yaar. You cannot say that other people are doing it. What is your issue, yaar?
Allow him to complete.
But you mock the
Sanjuji, please allow him to complete. You've asked him a question. Ask him to complete.
Yeah, I would have finished by now, yeah. What is this behavior? So yes, of course. And our Prime Minister...
This is a debate. I will not allow you to get...
all right, Navika. I mean, I really don't want to fall down to this level. I will keep quiet. I just want to say one thing. With Lal Bahadur Shastri, Madhav Sindhia ji or anybody, you are in government, please investigate it. But I wish you all the best. I will keep quiet. Give her the floor, ma'am.
Ghanshyam Tiwari,
we are not having an intellectual conversation.
1 minute. Ghanshyam Tiwari, my question is very, very simple and I am talking about the people's perception and view on this. People of this country would think, अरे कल कांग्रेस पार्टी ने बोला था चौकीदार चोर है, matter has not succeeded in the court of law. People will talk about the Pegasus case where you've accused the government. not proved in court. You know, it's out there in the open. Your party had actually come out and said, "Bhai, BJP ki vaccination hai, mat lena." Everybody is lauding the vaccination, policy in this country. I'm just wanting to ask you, does the opposition really need to go back to the drawing board to pick up issues that actually impact the public and make them larger issues than the non-issues that you are running as an agenda, because they don't find any legs to stand on once they are looked at by courts of law or facts of the case?
People who ask this question must look at what happened to Bilkis Bano. 11 rapists, murderers walked free, garlanded by BJP. A heinous crime occurred right under the watch of Narendra Modi, who did not help Bilkis Bano. And successive BJP governments helped these rapists and murderers. They got parole. When people whose crimes are like Siddiqui Kappan, who's a journalist, for 200 days he's been languishing in jail, has not gotten parole. A joke that was not cracked, man was put in jail. But these murderers and rapists get parole right under, please don't interrupt, right under the nose of the Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi. Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi, this heinous crime happened. And on 15th August, when Narendra Modi was speaking that Nari ka samman hona chahiye,
so there should be a breach in the Prime Minister's security. Is this a Bilkis Bano debate? But if you are raising it, I'm saying that all this that you have against the Prime Minister, so you are saying that the breach in his security is justified?
Why are you, sir? So allow me one more sentence. On 27th April 2009, Times of India and Economic Times carry a story that PM Manmohan Singh pardons the shoe hurler. In Gujarat, shoe was hurled at him. Did even a constable resign? Was a question asked to Narendra Modi? The voice came that it was a publicity stunt.
Sanju Verma, over to you. Sanju Verma, over to you.
Yes. The propagandists and
Navika,
this country.
I heard, today the Supreme Court made some important observations on the Bilkis Bano case. It said A, made the 11 convicts who were given a remission as party to the case.
Is Narendra Modi responsible or not? Is Narendra Modi responsible for what is happening to Bilkis Bano or not? Is Narendra Modi responsible or not? Is BJP responsible or not?
Bhansar Tiwari ji, you've had your say. Sanju Verma is responding to you and lowering your fader. Sanju Verma, 30 seconds, respond.
Yeah. Navika, first and foremost, let me tell you very clearly that the Supreme Court made a very important observation today that we need to see if the remission given to 11 convicts in the Bilkis Bano case is as per the Gujarat government's remission policy, because they already served 15 years and 4 months under prison. Ghanshyam Tiwari sits there and gives a bhashan on Bilkis Bano, but he is the same Ghanshyam Tiwari who will not answer. Why is it that Akhilesh Yadav went to the Allahabad High Court after the 2006 Varanasi riots and after the 2010 Varanasi bombing? He said ye bombing Indian Mujahideen ne nahi ki. The Allahabad High Court
we are digressing from the issue. The basic issue that we raised today on this debate was, of course, the opposition has a right to ask questions of the government, to criticize policies of the government and pick up issues of the people and fight for them. Instead, what are they picking up? They're picking up agenda issues. Issues of Rafale, where the Supreme Court has thrown out their objections. The issues of Pegasus, thrown out of Supreme Court. They even went on to say CAA means every Muslim in this country will lose his citizenship, something that was clear fear-mongering. Issue after issue which has fallen. The question is, for having differences politically, it is actually the right of the opposition. But to actually sit here, support and just take casually the Prime Minister's security, not be answerable on it, is that justified? That's the question we're asking. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and to my panelists for joining me on debate number 1. On the other side, the hate in Hyderabad. It's a clear case of inaction and inaction playing out in Hyderabad. Hyderabad cops swooped in on suspended BJP MLA Raja Singh and slapped extremely stringent sections of the law, including the Preventive Detention Act. Hyderabad cops made it clear that he was behind instigating the hate mob that has been creating unrest in one of the IT hubs in India. This action, however, is in sharp contrast to the minimalist approach of the police in acting against the 90 alleged hate mongers who went on a rampage chanting "Sar Tan Se Juda" slogans on the streets of Hyderabad last night. They were arrested last night and then let off by the police today morning. Even social media influencer Syed Kashif, who was at the forefront of calling for Raja's beheading, was arrested but was released within minutes. Asaduddin Owaisi, who had slammed the hate slogans earlier, took to Twitter to boast about how he had intervened with the police to release these very innocent people who were the hate mongers with slogans of "Sar Tan Se Juda." So the question we are asking tonight is it different strokes for different folks, and joining me on the debate sorry, Vinod Bansal, national spokesperson of the VHP, Bachchu Srinivas, spokesperson of the TRS. Mr. Bachchu Srinivas, straightforward question, are different yardsticks being applied to both sides? Mr. Srinivas, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I want to ask you a straightforward question. Are there different rules for different people? Sar Tan Se Juda is all right, so people who say that in slogans last night, they will be given bail, but different kind of stringent action against other kind of hate speech people like Mr. Raja.
First of all, very good evening to you, and it is very thanks for making to join the debate. And the straight answer to your question, the law is equal to everyone. We believe in the Constitution. I believe you have idea about Raja Singh. Since how long he is making the controversial comments and how many cases against him, and you might have knowledge about him better, how many cases against him. It is around 101, and religious controversial cases are 18.
Don't you have any knowledge about the Sar Tan Se Juda?
Hello?
Have any knowledge about this?
Yeah. Let me speak. See,
Firoz Khan, Rashid Khan, Jafar Khan, and so many other ... Khan and Khan and Khan.
No,
Khan were the...
not every Khan. We heard. Listen. You can't raise.
Mr. Bansal, let's not speak over each other. Let's not speak over each other, Bansal ji. Vinod Bansal ji, I'm requesting you. Let's not speak over each other. One person at a time. I've asked the question. Allow Mr. Srinivas to respond to that, and then I'll come to you. Mr. Srinivas, I agree.
Thank you.
I agree. Action has to be taken against anybody who's bringing up hate. And Raja Singh has been arrested. For a moment, if I say your action is correct, I will ask you the counter question. The counter question is Sar Tan Se Juda also not hate that is being spread in Hyderabad? Do you not think that these people, ye masoom bacche as Owaisi sahab called them, his intervention, and he's an alliance partner, so you will let go of all the people who used Sar Tan Se Juda?
No, for your kind consideration, I would like to tell you one thing. Yesterday, the thing Sar Tan Se Juda, जो बच्चे 90 बच्चे जो Sar Tan Se Juda who raised the slogan, the government has arrested all the people,
and then let them off on bail so that they can do that again.
Are they? Yeah, they have taken the bail and they have come back. The government has not given the bail.
Do you think that the government has given the bail to them? Even Syed Abdham Kashaf is also arrested.
Okay.
We are not favor to any Khans or any Singhs.
Mr. Bansal,
we are not favor to
the
anybody
argument
else.
of Mr. Srinivas is that बच्चों को छोड़ दिया है क्योंकि बेल सरकार ने नहीं दी है. You respond to him now.
देखिए नाविका जी, उन्हीं बच्चों के बारे में राष्ट्रीय बाल संरक्षण आयोग ने एक नोटिस दिया है सरकार को, पता है आपको? द नेशनल कमीशन फॉर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चाइल्ड राइट commissioner, the chairman has sent a notice to the government that how the children are being implicated about these heinous crimes and the jihadis activities. Number one, it is very shameful for the state. Number one. Number two is that the way he is telling that the bail is being given by the court, not by the government. My dear sir, what section you have applied on all those sartan se juda? That depends upon that section. How the case is being carried forward by the court. आप देखिए, जब उनके ऊपर केस ही नहीं लगाओगे तो कोर्ट तो जमानत देगा ही देगा. तीसरी बात ये, सरतन से जुदा ये नारे लगाने वालों से ज्यादा खतरनाक है ये फिरोज खान, राशिद खान, जफर खान and so on. So many Khans are there who are your corporators, who are your MLAs and they have threatened the state. तो कि भाई हम तो आग लगा देंगे, अंगारे बिछा देंगे, हम तो खून की नदियां बहा देंगे. एक कहता है कि राजा सिंह को जहां मिले उसको गाड़ी रोको और मारो.
Are the sections that have been applied to these people very light, number one, and number two, there are corporators who have been coming out and threatening people that they will set everything on fire. I want to ask what action has been taken against these corporators who will have followers as well.
One is the MLA and the Secretary of the Congress.
No, one thing I would like to remember. Bansalji, one thing I would like to remember you. Mr. Honorable Parliament Member Owaisi has condemned their sartan se duda of their own corporators.
Condemnation doesn't work, sir.
And I would like to tell you.
Condemnation can be done for Raja Singh also.
We know. I'll tell you.
1
listen.
minute. Okay.
First you listen.
So condemn Mr. Raja also and set him free.
First you try to listen. I'll tell you. BJP has taken action against to Raja Singh. Even BJP has taken against to Nupur Sharma and so many people. It is a problem of BJP. And listen,
that is a problem of the BJP and your MLA threatening is nobody's problem. Well, the only question, and I'm running out of time, Mr. Srinivas, the only question here is that justice does not have to be done, it has also to be seen to be done. And therefore, anybody, whether he is a corporator, an MLA, or whether there are people who are carrying out slogans, social media influencers, the law has to be same for everybody for hate speech. And that really is the need of the hour, lest we lit up a fire in this country and then we'll all have to pay for it. It is a wake-up call for all of us, whether we are in political parties or whether we are in society. Hate has no place in our society and we have to take stringent action against it, not interventions by Mr. Owaisi and others to let loose people who shout and sloganeer Sartan se juda. We must condemn them as much as we condemn Raja Singh and his statements. Thank you very much for joining me on the News Hour. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe.
You were watching the News Hour at 9. Stay tuned.
तिरंगा भी लहरेगा और ओठों से वही स्वतंत्र विरोह के शब्द गूंजेंगे, हेलो नहीं वंदे मातरम बोलो, वंदे मातरम बोलो। आणि म्हणून आज सांस्कृतिक विभागाचा पहिला संकल्प मी महाराष्ट्रात इथून जाहीर करतोय की हॅलो नाही वंदे मातरम बोलो. आता चांद्यापासून बांद्यापर्यंत मोबाईल असेल की फोन असेल 15 ऑगस्ट उद्यापासून हा संकल्प सुरू. आणि तुम्ही सुद्धा प्रतिज्ञा घ्या कि आता यानंतर मोबाइलवर कोई है ये नहीं कहेगा वो देशभक्तों का गीत वंदे मातरम वंदे मातरम. आणि हे अभियान सांस्कृतिक विभागाच्या माध्यमातून 15 ऑगस्ट ते 26 जानेवारी पर्यंत आम्ही करू. महाराष्ट्राच्या प्रत्येक जिल्ह्यात ही जी तरुणाई आहे सळसळत्या रक्ताची धडकत्या हृदयाची हा भारत मातेचा तिरंगा ध्वज विश्वागार नरेंद्र मोदींनी तुमच्या माझ्या हातात दिला. अब तिरंगा भी लहरेगा और ओठों से वही स्वतंत्र वीरों के शब्द गूंजेंगे. हेलो नहीं वंदे मातरम बोलो वंदे मातरम बोलो.
Good evening and welcome to Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhav. Now the Snooping saga was back in the headlines today, but this time it seemed the tables had turned. While examining a part of the report submitted by the committee set up to look into the allegations leveled by the opposition, Supreme Court today said that there was no conclusive proof to support claims that the Indian government used the Pegasus spyware for snooping. Chief Justice of India Ramana said that the apex court-appointed panel has concluded that the Israeli spyware was not found in the 29 mobile devices that it had examined. The technical committee did find some malware in 5 of the 9 phones examined. However, it doesn't mean it is a malware of Pegasus. The BJP was quick to cite this as conclusive proof of its vindication, demanding an apology from those who called it treason.
देशद्रोह का मामला है, राजद्रोह का मामला है. क्या राहुल गांधी कांग्रेस पार्टी माफी मांगेगी, जिस पर इतना तूफान खड़ा किया गया देश भर में कि भारत में जनता की प्राइवेसी को नुकसान बताया जा रहा है, इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया जा रहा है, प्रधानमंत्री अपने पार्टी के अंदर पेगासस के द्वारा सर्वेलेंस करा रहे हैं, आरोप शुरू हो गया. तो क्या आज कांग्रेस पार्टी माफी मांगेगी?
Now, interestingly, the Supreme Court bench also noted that the centre did not cooperate with the expert committee, a fact that was used by the opposition to ask the NDA government what is it trying to hide. The question now is, can any side claim a high ground in this debate?
पेगासस नामक हथियार का प्रयोग अपोजिशन पार्टी के लीडर्स, न्यायपालिका के जो फंक्शनरीज हैं, एग्जीक्यूटिव के जो फंक्शनरीज हैं, सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट हैं, उनके फ़ोन पे किया गया। हम मांग करते हैं कि किस एक्ट के अंतर्गत ऐसी व्यवस्था थी कि संसद सदस्यों के ऊपर राहुल गांधी जी के फ़ोन पर पेगासस हथियार का प्रयोग किस एक्ट के अंतर्गत, उस एक्ट के किस प्रावधान के अंतर्गत किया गया। पेगासस हथियार से संविधान और जो लोकतंत्र है दोनों कमजोर हो रहे हैं। देश ने समझ लिया कि वो कौन व्यक्ति थे जिनके इंस्ट्रक्शंस पे इस हथियार का प्रयोग लोकतंत्र और संविधान को कमजोर करने के लिए किया गया।
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
And for more on this, let's go across to our guest. Dr. Aparajita Sarangi, MP of the BJP, is joining us on the show. With us also is Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swarajya magazine. With us also is Sanjay Jha, author. We are also joined by Dr. Suman Siraman, who's a political analyst. But I first and foremost want to go across to Riju Datta, who's spokesperson of the Trinamool Congress. Riju Datta, you heard the BJP spokesperson or leader, Ravi Shankar Prasad, there come out and say that these allegations, there is some kind of treason in this entire act of allegedly using Pegasus, and several such allegations that have been made by opposition parties, all today stand completely exposed. But the Supreme Court has said there is no finding of any of the Pegasus malware on the devices that were examined, and therefore these charges do not hold. Riju Datta.
Thank you, Madhav. Good evening. What I want to say, I want to start off by saying this, that the Prime Minister's idea of New India has become an Orwellian nightmare. The thing is, yes, out of 29 phones examined, 5 has been found malware, but there also in the judgment, the Honorable Supreme Court has said that the central government has not cooperated with the committee. In what way, till what capacity, it will come out in the future. But I am not going to quote what I think. There were statements made by the leader of opposition, Shumendu Adhikari in Bengal, that I have got the call records of the National General Secretary of Trinamool Congress, Abhishek Banerjee. There was an article which published a list, article, if you can allow me, I can use the name also, where there was a list of names that was on Pegasus, and Mr. Abhishek Banerjee and our then strategist, Mr. Prashant Kishorji's names was mentioned. There was an article in an international newspaper which said that Pegasus was bought in 2017 by paying $2 billion by the Indian government, and the Israeli manufacturers said, yes, Indian government bought for us. So I don't know what is right, I don't know what is wrong. But what I know for sure is that India is the second highest country in the world in terms of data breaches. Right to privacy is our right. Why did the central government take back the data protection bill in 2019?
Okay.
So there is a lot of fiasco in all
lot
this.
of questions for the central government. Let me take this across to Aparajita Sarangi. Aparajita Sarangi, alright, we don't have that line clear with Aparajita Sarangi yet. We'll try and fix that line, but let me take that question across to Tushar Gupta, senior editor of Swarajya magazine. A lot of questions in terms of data breaches, in terms of why the data protection bill was taken back, and also at the same time, Tushar Gupta, end of the day, the opposition is going to come out and say that why did the centre not come clean either before the Supreme Court or before the Supreme Court appointed panel or even in Parliament. These are all forum in which the centre could have come out and said a clear, unequivocal no to actually having bought the Pegasus software, but that hasn't really happened.
Good evening, Madhav. You know, the first thing is that the data protection bill and the withdrawal of it has nothing to do with the controversy here. A new version of the data protection bill, after taking the feedback from the industry, is already on its way. So these are two very, very separate issues. On the issue of data breaches, that is far more complex, and you cannot just attribute it to the phone records of one national secretary of some party. It doesn't work that way. Number two, this is again a series of false alarms that have been created by the opposition. We saw it during Rafale, we saw it during the vaccine crisis, we saw it now. Every time the opposition uses these taxes to divert attention from the electoral defeats, there were a lot of politicians, a lot of journalists, a lot of observers who were making the noise that their phones were compromised, that the BJP or the government was snooping on their phones. When it came to forwarding their devices, when it came to submitting the devices for investigation, all the committee had was 29 devices. And when the controversy broke out last year in July, there were so many people saying that the entire Congress party has been compromised, Rahul Gandhi's phone has been compromised. I mean, so many things were said. But when it's about walking the talk, Suddenly you see all of them disappear. So this is what I don't understand. If you're so sure that your device is compromised, if you're on the government's snooping list, if there is one, why not come forward? Why not prove it?
Okay.
You're not walking your own talk, and then when the Supreme Court committee
I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point. And let me put it across to Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, you can't have it both ways. That's what Tushar Gupta is saying over here. You can't allege that the government is not doing something or snooping on you, and yet when the opportunity comes before this panel, less than 10% of the persons who are on that list of over 300, and you very well know it, have actually submitted their devices. And in fact, I can say that that committee went out of its way to assure that they would not in any way tamper or leak the private data. They would not even look at it. They would just look at it for the purposes of examining if there was a malware or not. So how can we today actually know for sure if that snooping actually happened when those who are in fact politicians who claim that their phones are snooped on themselves have not submitted their devices? I think that's a fair question. Please answer that.
Well, Madhav, this is a very serious issue and I'm very glad you're discussing it, including your viewers should be very interested because it is about a fundamental right to privacy. Let me start by first telling you that this government went to the Supreme Court and in fact said that we don't even have a right to our own bodies when the right to privacy was being debated in the Supreme Court. They actually spoke against it. So that's the first point that we need to understand. What is the ideological or the, what I call is the policy mindset of this government? Number one. Number two, if you look at the numbers, 5 out of 29, and I was astonished to hear how Amit Malviya and gang were, celebrating it as if it is an innocuous development, is 17% infiltration or infection rate. 17% is a very high number. And the Supreme Court has not said categorically that this wasn't Pegasus. They said we are not able to establish it. And if you look at it from the sample of 5 on 29, imagine if other people volunteered to give the mobile phone,
but
which
there's
many
no evidence
people
to prove that it
hesitated
is
to do
Pegasus.
so.
Sanjay, just a minute. Malware could be from any
website. But you can't give the benefit of doubt to the government.
No, I'm not trying to stop you there, but I'm just saying, just clarifying that point on malware. Malware could be from any website that one serves. There are n number of malicious websites there that plant malware or apps that could be responsible for it. So can we conclusively say that those 5 are all Pegasus?
Yeah, by the same logic, Madhavan, and a very valid point, that end of day, why did many people not submit their mobile phone? Because they were paranoid, knowing this authoritarian dark government, that they would plant a malware on the mobile phones for subsequent abuse. So, one can understand the apprehension.
Are you saying that the Judicial Commission also you do not have faith in, sir? Because it is at the end of the day a retired judge who's looking at it. Because I mean one can have a problem with a government appointed committee, but this is a Supreme Court appointed committee. If there are any complaints of the committee, that too can be addressed before the Supreme Court for sure.
Well, look at it like this, Madhav. I think this is probably the biggest statement made by the Supreme Court on any government in our parliament history. Now, you and I both know, all the panelists are very mature people, they know, the highest court of the land is the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court makes a statement that the government refused to cooperate with it in such a sensitive matter concerning the fundamental rights of 140 crore Indians.
Okay.
I think that to me is the most damaging.
Let me take this across to Dr. Aparajita Sarangi. Dr. Aparajita Sarangi, back to square one. Once again, the point coming in that why would the government not cooperate? It's in the government's own interest to come out and say that no, we did not buy this software unequivocally. All we have said time and again we have seen is that government, took a very meandering sort of a stand, an ambivalent sort of a stand, both inside Parliament and even the Chief Justice said so inside the Supreme Court and in front of this panel. Why not come and say no? Clearly, no, we did not buy Pegasus.
They refused to give an affidavit.
Good evening. A very good evening. Now, please give me some time. See, the entire report of the media consortium came out on 18th of July 2021, and I think that explains everything. The next day, the parliament, the monsoon session of the parliament had to start, and there was uproar inside the house. And then, of course, we had just 22% productivity in the monsoon session of the parliament. And the reason was Pegasus. Huge uproar, ruckus, as they always do, and this time it was Pegasus. Now, all the opposition parties gathered together, including the Congress, to disrupt the government from going for normal functioning. And for that matter, let me tell you, 2 days after the entire ruckus commenced, the IT minister stood up with a paper in his hand and he read out the stand of the government. Absolutely clear. We had nothing to hide. And in the Rajya Sabha, his paper was snatched away. And we know what happened thereafter. So my point is, as far as the government is concerned, the government's stand was very clear right from the beginning. And please don't say that we did not talk or did not cooperate, in the sense that we did submit an affidavit in the Supreme Court.
Ma'am, this is what the Chief Justice has said today. Do you want me to read out what CJI said today?
No,
Have you
I
not
understand.
heard that?
No, I have read that. Let me just come to that. We have submitted an affidavit and that affidavit contained everything. And as far as the observation of the Honorable Supreme Court is concerned, yes, we hold each word of the Supreme Court in high esteem. And we solidly, support whatever word is being uttered by Honorable Supreme Court. But at the same time, we will say that we always stood by whatever we said in the Parliament, and that was also written in our affidavit. And believe me, had we gone too much ahead in convincing, these people who are talking otherwise would have said government is trying to interfere with the working of the Supreme Court. I tell you, I challenge, these same people would have talked like that.
Can I ask?
Okay, let me come in.
Just one question. Madhav, just one question.
Okay, Sanjay, very quickly, yeah.
Dr. Sarangi, you're one of the more, moderate spokespersons of the BJP. I have only one question for you. Did the government buy the Pegasus spyware or not from Ukraine? Does India have it or not?
Here, whatever we tell you,
give us a yes/no answer. Give us a yes/no answer.
No,
do we have it or
not?
not?
Tell you will not be convinced, and a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion.
No, I'm asking you, do you have it or not?
But I must say that NSO has categorically stated that it licensed the spyware only to vetted governments, and India is not a vetted government within quotes. I'm quoting the NSO group.
All right,
so I
all
think
right.
this answers your question.
Okay, let me just bring...
It doesn't.
Yes.
Yeah,
doesn't.
okay. Subansi Raman. Let me bring in Subansi Raman on this. Let me bring in Subansi Raman on this. Subansi Raman, today we have seen the response coming in from various political parties, but in the monsoon session, the manner in which political parties reacted, today top leaders of political parties, chief ministers, regional satraps were not seen, reacting on Pegasus the manner in which they did in the last monsoon session, where virtually the entire opposition was trying to get the government on the mat, and in fact, the entire monsoon session was virtually washed away on this one issue of Pegasus. So somewhere or the other, it also begs an answer about whether the fears that were being expressed by the opposition, somewhere whether they were unfounded, given the fact that a Supreme Court committee has gone through all of this and has not been able to establish that Pegasus was there on those phones.
No, Madhav, first of all, let us not say that the Supreme Court committee has not been able to establish it, having all the support that they needed to actually establish it. They did not get the support from the government, and that has been mentioned by the Honorable Court and by this committee. Now, let me make 3-4 quick points. Can we turn off the echo, please? Yeah. So, for point number 1, the court has not said Pegasus conclusively was not found. They have only said malware on 5 phones. We can't say if it's Pegasus. Probably they don't have access to Pegasus to say it's Pegasus, because Pegasus is sold only to governments. And if they needed access to Pegasus to prove that this malware was Pegasus, how would they go about it? So there is a fundamental... 1 minute. The second point, Dr. Sarangi, at no stage has anybody from the government stood up in Parliament and said the government of India has at no point in time procured Pegasus from NSO, full stop. At no point has anybody representing the government actually said this. They've gone around in playing with the language, with words, no illegal snooping happened, and various such terminologies have been used. The government never explicitly said we have never procured Pegasus.
So we're back to the same point. Back to the same point. Back to the same point. Let me get in Tushar on that. Let me get in Tushar on that.
1 second, Madhav.
Okay, quickly complete your point, please.
Last point.
Quickly.
Madhav. The point is, no, 1 second please, let me finish. The point, Madhav, is without the cooperation of the NSO or the government of India, you can appoint 500 committees. You cannot conclusively establish it.
Okay.
If NSO is not going to cooperate, if the government of India is also not going to cooperate, what do you want the committee to do?
Okay. Tushar, come in on this.
How will
please.
they establish what is on the phone is Pegasus?
All right, you made your point, sir. Tushar, unless the government or NSO
Madhav,
cooperates, we'll never be able to establish what has actually happened.
Madhav,
Please respond to Suman Siraman.
Madhav, 2 points. One about the malware that has been found on 5 of the 29 submitted devices. Please understand that if this is a software they're accusing of snooping on a person's entire device, including their encrypted data, the malware won't be that simple. Tomorrow I can upload an app overnight on an app store, name it whatever I want and add whatever malware I want to add to it. As you rightly pointed out, there are several malicious websites that do that. So it's not that simple that, oh, there was malware, so there is Pegasus. That conclusion alone is very naive, for the lack of a better word. Number 2, we are talking about the lack of government support to the committee that is yet to be found. But nevertheless, Sumanta ji, that is not how technology works. I'm sorry.
Said.
Nevertheless, I am again asking the same question. Sanjay Jha said, sir, I did not interrupt you.
Gentlemen, one at a time. We have time to debate this. Let him give his point of view. Sumant, you can correct him if you want to. You can respond to him. Let Tushar complete his point, please, just as I allowed you to. Tushar.
Madhav, the people last year, all these journalists, politicians, the entire lobby said, our devices are completely compromised. The government has every possible data on our movement, on our talks or our conversations, etc. So there was nothing left for subsequent, malware to be planted. As Mr. Jha points, you could have submitted your device, you could have walked out truthful on your claims, but they did not submit the device. If you want to say that the government did not cooperate with the committee, also factor in that the people who made the claims in the first place, they also did not come forward when it came to submitting the devices. That's the second point. Number 3, as the BJP MP has rightly pointed out, for a long time now we have seen there is this diversion tactics that happen every time a parliament session is to start.
Okay.
Pegasus
Is it therefore merely a coincidence? All right, I got the gist of your point, and let me put that question to Suman Siraman. I put that in a different way to Sanjay Jha earlier, but Suman Siraman, listen to my question, please, and respond to this. Is it just a mere coincidence that Mr. Rahul Gandhi, who has made a big deal of Pegasus, has today also tweeted following the judgment, neither he nor his close aides who are named in that list of 300, none of their devices were submitted, and all sorts of reasons were given. The device has gone defunct, it has been lost, all sorts of things. Is it just a mere coincidence then that this has actually happened? Why not submit the devices to the Supreme Court panel? Are we saying that we don't have faith in a Supreme Court appointed committee as well?
Simply because, it is the unfortunate truth. But the fact remains that many of those chose not to submit their phones because they felt that potentially the phones may at some point be in the hands of government officials who could plant something further on them.
How?
So
when it's a Supreme Court justice, retired justice is looking into it. Where does the government come in? Why are we mixing up the courts and the government? Because Suman, I'll tell you what the problem is. I'll tell you what the problem is. I'll tell you what the problem is with that premise. Suman, just 1 minute. Just give me 10 seconds. There's a problem with that premise. The problem with that premise is that tomorrow we can never hope to have justice in this country. Tomorrow, every single judgment in which either the government is a party or an opposition ruled government is a party, you will always say that we fear that the government will have an undue influence. There is no end to this in that case, Suman Siraman.
Can I come in, please?
No, sir. It's a very simple thing.
I'm coming to each of you, please. Let Suman answer this question. I'm seeing many hands going up. I'll come to each of you.
What is the malware? Yeah, let me. Yeah, 1 minute. It's not that 0 phones were submitted, 29 phones were submitted, 5 were found infected with
10%, sir, less than 10%.
Now the question is, what is that malware? Is it Pegasus or not? How does the 17%? 5 out of 29 is not less than 10% according to my mathematics. I don't know how
29 out of 300 I'm saying. You said 29 was submitted. I'm talking about the total number of alleged phones that was snooped upon.
Not 300, sir. No, we don't know. We don't know how many would have had malware and the rest of them been submitted.
So that's worse.
Right,
if it's more, it's even worse.
29. Now
I'm talking about the list of names publicly available to me.
Or they don't.
Let me quickly bring in the government spokesperson, the BJP spokesperson. All right, I think we're going around in circles. Aparajita Sarangi, simple question to you, ma'am. A number number of governments globally have conducted their own investigations. You know, there are nations such as France, Algeria, Israel, etc., who have actually gone on to examining whether there was this illegal surveillance carried on by Pegasus or not. Several nations like Germany, Hungary, Thailand and United States have admitted that Pegasus spyware was used. So somewhere or the other, the government also could have initiated this entire inquiry and come out clean to set the record straight. That unfortunately has not happened in India, and why not? And the reason I'm asking you this question is this, because the allegation is that top police officials have also been snooped upon. All of those who are part of a security and intelligence apparatus, if they have been snooped upon, perhaps even by foreign governments, not even our Indian government, why should we not come clean?
A Supreme Court case is going on, right? And 4 weeks after, again, there is a hearing on this particular case. We are all aware of it. Now, as far as the government is concerned, it was very keen to set up a technical committee. But then this particular case came where we are the respondents. And when the Supreme Court is hearing the case, 12 petitions were bunched together and the hearing started. I don't think there was any reason on part of the government to get into it. Let's wait for the final judgment.
Okay.
Now, I will just remind all of you. See, as far as the submission of devices is concerned, of course, on 2 dates.
Okay.
First, let me tell you, just give me 30 seconds. First, the technical committee appointed by the Supreme Court for the purpose actually invited all those who had been complaining to submit their devices.
Okay.
Some devices came.
Yes.
Then on 2 dates.
We've debated that.
January 2.
Yes.
Just a minute. 2nd January 2022 and February 3rd 2022, 2 separate dates again. The same committee.
Yes, we are aware of that, ma'am. We are all aware of the number of hearings that happened, the difficulties that happened in terms of those actual hearings. We are completely out of time, unfortunately. I wanted to go across to someone for a response, but we really don't have any time. Dr. Aparajita Sarangi, Tushar Gupta, Sanjay Jha, Riju Datta and Dr. Suman Siraman, thanks so much for joining us. It's a very sensitive issue. It's an issue that all Indians should certainly be concerned about, because in this day and age when we all walk around with our devices, certainly data privacy and protection is something that citizens, not just here in India, but globally are concerned about, particularly the entire issue of surveillance and snooping, and that's why this is certainly a very, very important debate and discussion to have. Is Bilkis Bano closer to getting justice as she would like to see it? The Supreme Court has today issued notice to the Gujarat government seeking its response on a plea challenging the remission of 11 convicts in the gang rape of Bilkis Bano during the Gujarat riots in 2002. Petitioners have said that it restored their faith in judiciary.
I think we have faith in the judiciary, which is why we have gone to the judiciary. That is evident. And I think beyond just this case, I think each of us as people who live in India and as people who are Indians need to ask ourselves this question. Are we okay with the way this executive is saying one thing and doing another? Are we going to forget about what they've done, depending on what the court says? It's not just about Bilkis Bano, it is about the executive overreach, and that is a question that should concern us.
I think that altogether, whatever has happened in court today is, I think, a step in the direction of accessing justice. They did not follow certain norms. They did not consult with the judge who had given the judgment in the first place. They also didn't, I think, consult with the central government. We have not got any information whether they did. And in fact, their whole order has also not been made public. I am actually grateful that the Supreme Court did seem to take some of these points on board, and it did not throw this petition out, but said that notice will be issued. And we also agreed that the 11 who were convicted, they will also be served notice.
And as wheels of justice move again, support for Bilkis came from supposedly unexpected quarters. BJP leader Khushbu Sundar took to Twitter and called the release an insult to mankind, demanding that they be jailed immediately. But the opposition is not impressed. Some, like Owaisi, deemed it hypocrisy and shedding of crocodile tears. So what prompted the outburst? Were there political or personal reasons behind it? To answer those questions, we are now joined by Khushbu herself. Petitioners have approached the Supreme Court, which has in turn issued notice to the Gujarat government on the remission granted to the accused as far as the Bilkis Bano case is concerned. Not only were they released on remission, but they were also felicitated. To talk about this, and someone who's been quite outspoken throughout her political journey, we have with us Khushbu. Thank you so much, Khushbuji, for joining us here on Times Now. And let me begin by asking you, you're one of the few people in the BJP who was actually so outspoken and spoke so strongly about this. What prompted you to speak out?
What prompted me to speak about it? I think it's basically me being a mother. I'm a mother to a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old, and I don't want my children to turn back and look at me in disgrace and say, "What did you do?" My daughters didn't ask me to speak up, but the moment I speak, they hug and they said, "Thank you, Amma," and that said it all. Probably they were waiting for me to react. And I know very well that today, if I don't stand up for another woman, another mother, my own children probably may not respect me as they do, and they might lose their faith in me as a mother, as a woman, and as a politician. So I had to speak up because this is something I have been following, and I was completely appalled at the way they were welcomed. And after a very long time, I had sleepless nights. I couldn't sleep well because the images were in front of me. And I could relate to it, and I said I had to speak, cutting across the political lines. But I have always been very, very vocal about what I think is right, irrespective of the party I belong to in the past. I have always been very, very vocal. If I feel that I need to speak, I have voiced my opinions.
Right. But Ms. Khushbu, many in your party have not spoken with the kind of clarity and conviction that you have spoken about. Even Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, when he spoke, he's spoken about the problem with felicitating these convicts, not so much about the remission itself, because he says that that's happened as per the legal procedures. Now, today you have welcomed what the Supreme Court has done in terms of issuing notice to the Gujarat government. Do you think that the Gujarat government will reconsider the decision of the remission panel in your view?
See, it works. People say this has nothing to do with judiciary, but the remission works on the petition that has been filed by a few people in Gujarat. It goes to and we have seen this, it goes to the government, the state government, and they take a call. You have a panel there again who decides. It's not that it's the decision taken by one person. There are pros and cons are weighed, and we have seen this what happened in Tamil Nadu also, after Perarivalan was given a remission despite being accused of being part of the conspiracy that killed our very own Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi ji. So he was given a remission, and that was welcomed. After 26 or 27 long years, it was welcomed. I'm saying it's a decision taken by the state government. And yes, there is law involved. So people say there's absolutely no law involved. I think they need to really, really work hard and think that how the law is involved here. I am glad that Supreme Court has taken up, and they have actually asked the state government of Gujarat to look into this and relook into the remission order which has been given. I think I'm not the right person to speak about laws here because I don't hold a law degree. My understanding and my ability to look into law is like any other common person who is not at all related with law and the orders of the country. I think I don't understand, or my understanding is exactly of that someone else watching this program.
Right.
But I feel that as a person, as an Indian, as a woman, I think what happened is absolutely wrong. And I speak as a woman of this country. And why I so strongly felt about it is I could feel the pain of Bilkis Bano. I could feel the pain of a mother. I could feel what it is for a woman to go through something like this. And that is when I thought that I had to speak.
Right. Ma'am, many within the opposition have been very quick to point out that all of this remission happened at a time when the Prime Minister was actually in his Independence Day speech speaking about Nari Shakti. So do you think that this is, to that extent, some kind of an embarrassment also, because on the one hand, Nari Shakti is being spoken about, on the other hand, these convicted rapists are being released on remission?
No, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about for the Prime Minister. He spoke from a platform, and we have seen that how in the country women have been given every opportunity to empower themselves. Prime Minister has been very, very focused on Nari Shakti, on Beti Bachao Andolan, and he will always be positive when it comes to women of this country. Whether he's going to speak or not, I'm not the person to tell you that, whether he's going to speak on this issue. But I'm sure that he's aware of what is happening. And what decision has to be taken by the law. I don't think the Prime Minister has to intervene and send a word to the state government and say, because he's the Prime Minister, he's not going to do it. The state have their own law and orders, and they're going to look into it. And that's why we have an independent body like Supreme Court, CJI interfering and saying that this needs to be re-looked into it. I don't think the Prime Minister needs to speak. It's just the opposition. They have something to say. So the best bait for them is to blame the Prime Minister. The hate towards our Prime Minister is so large in their hearts that they don't even realize what they're speaking, but it just continues to pour out. And the message that they're sending across is absolutely wrong. Rather than saying that we are going to stand with, because I have spoken, there are a few others who have spoken. I want other people to speak up. I want people from across political line. I want people from different political parties. When they speak about every damn thing, and you have some people sitting in the parliament and talking about the price rise and, eating kacha baingan and talking about it. Where are those women on the streets? Why are they not? If you want to speak to me as a politician, I would say there were people who were suspended from the opposition party, the MPs. They were sitting down and singing Jana Gana Mana, disrespecting our national anthem, sitting on the stairs and singing. I said, where are they? Why are they not protesting outside the parliament? Why are they keeping mum? Why are they just busy blaming the Prime Minister for this, saying that this is where the Prime Minister is failing? No. Why are you not speaking? Why are you moving away from the actual problem? Why are you not showing your support, your care, your solidarity, your unity towards a woman of this country, towards a daughter of this country? Why are you not doing that? And that is what is upsetting me.
Absolutely. No, certainly, of course, any attempt to build consensus on issues or where there should be no political divisions is certainly, of course, a very laudable intention, Khushbu-ji. But I want to ask you, Ms. Khushbu, or the many who are pointing out that this remission panel itself had at least 2 MLAs of the BJP and some other leaders of the BJP as well. And therefore, can your party completely distance from this decision? Because some of them have gone to the extent of even justifying it, saying that the accused were sanskari, they were Brahmins, so on and so forth. How do you see these kind of shocking statements that have come in from members of the remission panel?
No, I think tomorrow somebody from your family or my family are accused, we would stand by them and say that whatever happened is wrong. There was absolutely nothing wrong done by my family members. So I think they are speaking in that context. But we know those people were convicted. They were not just accused, they were convicted. 11 of them were convicted by the Supreme Court of India. And I'm sure the cases ran for long. All the details were looked into it, and that is when the Supreme Court came up with a verdict, with the final judgment saying that these 11 men are guilty and they should be convicted, and they were punished. So whether you're punished or not, every family member would feel that my family member is innocent, and that is in that context they have spoken. So I'm not going to bring in politics here. I'm going to speak away from politics. I know when I took a stance, I didn't take a stance as a political figure, as a political leader, as a part of a political party. It has spiraled into me being in BJP. Fine, but I think I took a very strong stand as a woman, as someone who wants to give a very, very safe and a very protective future to the girls of this country tomorrow. My own daughters, I want them to feel safe. I don't want them to lose hope in our judiciary system, in our law and order, in our government. I don't want them to lose hope in politics. I don't want them to lose hope in the country as such. And that is when I spoke, because this is the kind of a future I want to give to my children and the other young girls of this country. And I say that no, India is still the best country to live in. And that is the faith and that is the hope I want to give them. And that is why I spoke what I had to say.
Right, ma'am, in your bid to build this, cutting across party lines consensus, would you also appeal to ministers who have not yet spoken? For instance, the Home Minister, who incidentally hails from Gujarat, the Women and Child Minister, Development Minister, also has not spoken on this issue. Would you appeal to them to also come out and send out the kind of message that you are wanting to send out with these statements?
I am no one to send out a statement. Everybody needs to take a stand on their own. They have to feel personally. They have to feel strongly about what has happened is something called injustice. I don't want to go across to my political people and say that please speak. No, everybody needs to feel. When I say people across the political line, I also mean to the women from my parties also. I want every woman to speak who feels strongly. I would love to see strong women from my political party speaking on this issue. I would love to see strong women from different political fields to speak on this issue very strongly about it. Because I want, as women, we to come together collectively and build a momentum and say what happened to Bilkis Bano will be the last episode of this country where something like this, a woman had to go through. Nothing more of this sort should be happening again. Nobody needs to go through this kind of a pain or this kind of, rape is something which stays with you. And that's what I very categorically stated in my tweet, saying that it scars your soul for life. It definitely does. And I don't want another woman to go through that. I want the laws of a country, if given an opportunity today, I would urge the law and order of this country to change, to bring in a change where no other woman, there have to be very, very strict laws where anyone who touches a woman without her consent needs to be put behind bars, probably, given the capital punishment. A fear needs to be installed in these men who commit this kind of a crime. Fear. There's no fear for law and order in a country. Very, very unfortunately. I want that fear to be installed in them. I want people to think twice before even looking up at a woman differently, or forget even touching her, but even looking up at a woman very differently in a very sleazy manner. I just want the law and orders to be put in place. And I very strongly feel as a woman that no other woman should go through what Bilkis Bano went through. That's it.
Right. Ma'am, my last question to you is this. At the end of the day, we've all seen those shocking pictures of the felicitation of those convicts. Now, there are allegations that, certain members of the VHP, like one Mr. Arvind Sisodia apparently was part of that. Now, whichever be the organization, the felicitation of people who have been convicted of this heinous crime really shocks the conscience. And I think it has shaken the conscience of this nation. But the fact is, it did happen. What needs to be done to even change this kind of mindset?
It did shock me. It did appall me. It did shock me. It did send a chill down my spine. It did. I'm not going to deny that. And I was like, what the hell is happening? This is not the way to do it. And that is what our Deputy CM of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis ji, has also spoken about it. But like I said, they think it's part of the family, and Boluk Sanskarithe is what they feel. But there's law which had taken its course. And I want law to step in and take its course again, but faster and quicker. We can't let this moment go for months together. I want law and order to be stepped up, and I want the justice to be given as fast as possible.
Khushbu Sundar, thank you so much for joining us and speaking so candidly, telling us about your own personal experiences and, of course, appealing for justice for Bilkis Bano, and in the process also appealing across political lines that on such issues at least there should be consensus and no politics. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
From being a waiter to being a Bollywood star, Akshay Kumar's life journey is anything but a cakewalk. Hailed as one of the most talented and dedicated actors in Bollywood, Akshay Kumar has had his fair share of success and failures. While some of his films turned out to be blockbusters, a few of them failed to meet his fans' expectations. But this year, Bollywood's Khilari had a particularly tough ride at the box office with his 3 consecutive flops. There is no doubt that OTT has brought about...
You're watching the News Hour at 10. The News Hour at 10. We'll be right back after the break. The News Hour at 10.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
I do not get into Indian politics when I go abroad. You want to ask me that question, you come and ask me in India. What is Atmanirbhar Bharat about? You ask this colonial mentality question. Atmanirbhar Bharat is also about overcoming the colonial mentality. That somewhere something better is made. It doesn't have to be made outside to be better. It can be made in India and be equally good, maybe even better. What happened after the 1990s was we opened our economy, and which was the right thing to do, because at that time there was too much state control, our economy was not competitive, it was important, we dealt more with the world, all of that was very good. But what happened in India was that business houses, when the economy opened up, they were naturally, what are business people most concerned about? They are concerned about, making profits, having a good supply system. So you had a situation where, in order to build their own businesses, in India, we started importing more and more from other countries. Now, if you contrast this, not only with China, if you look at Korea, you look at Japan, I'm giving those as some examples. These countries built up their economy not just by having big business, but also having a supply chain within the country.
I went when they opened up travel to America in 2021, and my son lives in America, and I asked him, saying, we were going to a restaurant and they wanted to see our COVID certificate, vaccine certificate. So I showed them my phone. My son from his wallet produced a paper which was folded in thing and said, okay, this is my certificate. And I looked at his paper and I asked myself, okay, this is where they are and this is... the whole idea of the CoWIN platform, that each one of you, like me, got on your phone that you go to this place on this date and you get this done. Now you must understand, this is not the case with much of the world.
What happens in our neighborhood, any developments which have a bearing on our security obviously is of interest to us. I think our spokesman had said some time ago that we obviously monitor any development which has a bearing on our interests very, very carefully.
Round of all the other stories coming in here on Times Now. To seek justice for Sidhu Moosewala, his family's organized a candle march in Punjab's Mansa district today. BSF troops have foiled a major bid to smuggle narcotics from across the border and shot at a Pakistani intruder in Jammu and Kashmir's Samba district. All four accused in the Sambal gang rape case have now been arrested. In fact, the 15-year-old gang rape survivor has hung herself to death after being allegedly threatened by her assaulters, who forced her to withdraw the case. Raids conducted at the residence of former MLA leader, in fact PC George and his son. According to sources, the raids were conducted in connection with the actress assault case of 2017. 9 people died and 14 others were seriously injured in a road accident in Tumkur in Karnataka. A cruiser was hit by a truck which was leading to this horrific incident.
अबे तू किधर है? नंबर 12 MG रोड यानी महात्मा गांधी रोड, सिग्नल से क्रॉस, वहाँ पे चाय वाला होगा क्रॉस, सीधा जाके किताब गली, फिर पान टपरी से होली क्रॉस, उधर से राइट पे दिखे भगवान, शिव मंदिर नहीं भोलेनाथ, पिंक बंगला विद ग्रीन खिड़की, सामने उसके घर है यार। तो किधर है? अल्फांसो वाला नहीं, लेमन वाला यार, वो शॉपिंग मॉल नहीं, शॉपिंग सेंटर देखो, बाजू में काजू बादाम बेचे, 4 रास्ता उसके सामने आ गया।
Addresses in India simply complex, पर what 3 words पे हर 3 मीटर स्क्वायर का है पता, बस 3 रैंडम वर्ड्स का। तो ऐप खोलो, 3 वर्ड एड्रेस शेयर करो और मिल गया पता। What 3 words, making addresses simply simple.
ये रहा मैं और ये है मेरे प्राउड डैड। मेरा बेटा इंजीनियर बनेगा। And that's what I wanted to be. But this quota down and struggle is not what I wanted to do here. I applied for Bennett University's BTech program.
Super advanced course bro, brilliant faculty, world class campus, specialization वाले BTechs और excellent placements.
Package पता कितना है? 50 lakhs bro. तो अब अगला innovation तो made in India ही होगा. Time to be part of Bennett Industries 6.0 revolution.
जब छींटे फव्वारे मेरे दिल को छू जाए, it's awesome. जब दिल थरथराए और मन फिर जाए, it's awesome. I feel alive, I feel alive, everything is awesome.
जिंदा दिल ताजगी सिंथॉल लाइम और कूल के साथ Alive is awesome.
The better angels of our nature incline us to be good, but some among us are truly angels who walk the earth. Common by appearance, uncommon by deeds. Amazing Indians with an amazing capacity to not just be good, but do good.
Those who work towards making this earth and the nation a better place for living are truly the angels of God, and they deserve our wholehearted support and encouragement. I am pleased to extend my support to those people as a member of the jury for Amazing Indians Award.
Coming soon, Amazing Indians Awards 2022 from Times Network. An iconic property to recognize India's uncommon heroes devoted to building a better nation. Because no good deed should go unnoticed. Presenting partner Adani.
You have not seen what I have seen. Evil does not sleep. It waits.
Watch The Lord of the Rings of Power.
Clean energy is the need of the hour, and green hydrogen is going to play an important role. In this special episode of Rising India Empowered Planet, industry leaders discussed new energy resources, especially green hydrogen.
We are investing in batteries, and green hydrogen does provide another great option for decarbonizing the economy.
Green hydrogen, in the wordings of one Professor Sun from Australia, it is the holy grail of future energy sustainability.
Till the time the technologies evolve and the supply chains evolve to the right cost levels, a certain amount of viability gap funding from the government will help this get kick-started.
Catch this interesting and informative session this weekend at these times.
OLX ऑटोज ही देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। सुनीता, सुना तुमने ये क्या बोल रहे हैं?
यही कि OLX ऑटोज देता है आपकी कार का बेस्ट प्राइस। ये प्राइस ही नहीं, सरप्राइज है। Visit olxautos.in.
Those that put others before themselves are truly uncommon heroes, worthy of adulation. A special breed striving to better society despite the odds. Amazing Indians with amazing stories of selfless service.
Being a jury member of the Amazing Indian Awards is truly an eye-opening experience. It's amazing to see so many Indians with such big hearts working tirelessly to make the lives of others better. There can be no mission more noble than the service of others.
Coming soon, Amazing Indians Awards 2022 from Times Network. An iconic property to recognize India's uncommon heroes devoted to building a better nation. Because no good deed should go unnoticed. Presenting partner Adani.
तिरंगा भी लहरेगा और ओठों से वही स्वतंत्र विरोह के शब्द गूंजेंगे, हैलो नहीं वंदे मातरम बोलो, वंदे मातरम बोलो. आणि म्हणून आज सांस्कृतिक विभागाचा पहिला संकल्प मी महाराष्ट्रात इथून जाहीर करतोय की हॅलो नाही वंदे मातरम बोलो. आता चांद्यापासून बांद्यापर्यंत मोबाईल असेल की फोन असेल, 15 ऑगस्ट उद्यापासून हा संकल्प सुरू. आणि तुम्ही सुद्धा प्रतिज्ञा घ्या की आता यानंतर मोबाईलवर.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Qatar Airways, official airline of the journey.
Sir, आपका कार इंश्योरेंस रिन्यू तो सेम कंपनी से करा लो ना.
चिंटू, तेरी पैसे उड़ाने की आदत गई नहीं अब तक?
मम्मा,
policybazaar.com पे 20 से ज्यादा कंपनीज के कार इंश्योरेंस कंपेयर करके खरीदो और पैसे बचाओ. सिंपल.
ओके.
कोई बात नहीं, फिर तो जाएगा. Let's go. I told you.
The all-new Slavia. Skoda. Simply clever.
जनता में रोष, प्रशासन खामोश, रानी राज या जंगल राज,
रानी को घेरने का ये अच्छा मौका है।
जब जब आपको लगता है कि आप बिहार को समझ गए हैं, बिहार आपको झटका देता है।
परंपरा बनता ही है एक दिन टूटने के लिए, और हम तो बदनाम हैं उसको तोड़ने के लिए।
You can get our solution working in 5 minutes without writing a single line of code.
We are on the mission to combat this loneliness and social isolation.
Those are good margins.
Yes, and we are making it as easy to get appointments and answers as it is to text a friend.
And they can also use our super checkout to save their time, money, and privacy.
And how long you have to wait.
That's the same question every time.
नहीं मूर्ति, कोई फायदा नहीं अब। मूर्ति, कोई जरूरत नहीं भाई।
नई कार खरीदने से पहले एको इंश्योरेंस कंपनी चेक करे और 50,000 तक बचाए।
ब्रेकअप हो गया यार, अब रात भर किससे बात करूंगा?
बचना ए हसीनो, लो मैं आ गया।
ब्रेकअप हो गया यार, अब रात भर किस किस से बात करूंगा?
मूड तो तभी बनेगा जब Spotify चलेगा, क्योंकि यहाँ है करोड़ों सॉन्ग्स। तो Spotify सुनते जा, डाउनलोड द ऐप फॉर फ्री।